I got a, what I do with the, y'all, I got a, trying to remember what I did with the remote. I knew I had one. Y'all know how y'all put something somewhere I can't remember? I'm gonna give it a few minutes, see who comes in. Oh, here's my remote. Okay. I got that remote. I thought I had another remote in here. Okay, clone. Where's the other remote? I thought I had another remote in here, y'all. Hey, Kathy, what's up, baby? Hold on, let me put live chat. How you doing? I'm trying to find my remote, but I can't find it. That's okay, I don't need it. I'm talking to y'all. You see the boxes? I still haven't moved the couch, but I got it cleaned out over here. I got a little area by the desk. I did too. Okay, is it hot? Where you at? I know we're going to, next week we hit our 100-degree weather. I think we did hit 100 already one time. Okay, I got a remote control. I have absolutely no idea what I did with it. And I thought, I don't know what I did with it. It's not on the couch. It's not on the side of the couch. I know I fell asleep last night, so I don't know, here on the couch. And then I moved to the room. And I think I put it in my pocket. I thought I got it dressed in the living room. Well, I still got to deal with the boxes here. But this wall is pretty much cleaned out. I just push the table out and put the couch over there. But I need to do Scotch Guard. So I'm going to Scotch Guard it, but I heard that the smell is real strong. So I'm trying to decide I'm going to do it this weekend. And I just want to do the back right now and then do the front once I do the back and the sides. And do the front before I leave to go to work one day. And then just let it, it'll just be airy in here. But we've hit our, I think we're like 80 or 90 degrees. It was nice today. There was a breeze. Me and Joe went out and had sushi. That's a picture you see, kind of some of the sushi on the front. But yeah, we just kind of chilled today. We did old people chilling. What you up to? County, Texas? I think you're in Texas, right? Are you in Texas? I think you're in Texas. You in Texas? I thought you said you were in Texas. I hope I got the right one. Y'all know I'm getting old. I start mixing it up. Okay. Texas. Ooh, I can feel a whisker, y'all. That hair is long. When you could pull it and it stretches. I just don't know why I did that. And all of a sudden I felt a hair that was just stretched. Oh, yeah, that thing is... Yeah, he's long. I'm going to have to get him, go in there and look at him. He's a whisker. You start getting older, they start getting whiskers. And when they long, Houston is a... Yeah, that's a bad boy. He's long. Anyway, what are y'all up to? I got to tell y'all a story. I'm going to give it about a couple more minutes and I'll tell the story. You'll listen to it. I don't know if anybody else catch it. I probably need to schedule them so people know. And then some people are like, hey, I'm not getting the notifications. So, hey, Wendy, what's up? How you doing? How's Colorado? Kathy's up in here. Say hey to Kathy. Kathy's in Texas, if you remember. Wendy's in Colorado. And is the husband on the road? And is he still driving for the same company? I got a whisker, y'all. Yeah, we're going to hit 100 and something. I think we already hit 100. I can't remember if we hit 90 or 100 back when the weather started getting hot. And I haven't done anything out in the garden. I got weeds out there. I may just have to go buy plants because I haven't done any seed starts. Okay, so he's still driving for the same company. He's home. Okay, he's chilling. Y'all, that hair is long. I can feel hair. That hair probably about this long. I can feel it stretches. I'm going to have to get on there and check. He's right in here. I can feel them when they thick. It's probably not like a whisker, but it's long. He's Kathy. And sometimes I'll get them down here. It's when you start getting old, they start growing. And sometimes, I feel like one right here I get. And then I get one, and it might be dark under here because I get one in the same spot. And then I have to pull him, and he's almost like as thick as an eyelash or the hair on my head. So he's a soft little curly whisker. And you can feel him. And this one, I don't know why I did that. And I did this, and then it just stretched. I'm like, oh, that hair got to come out. He's like that. Look, I don't grow hair on my head, but it's like it's thin, but it's like it's trying to be a little fuzz like on my head, on my chin, and under my neck. Y'all are funny. I might end up, I put in, they're going to be asking about work from home, so I'm praying that I can get work from home. That's another reason I'm trying to get things set back up, because I'm hoping they say yes, because they're talking about work from home for, I guess they're going to do another allotment. Originally, they were saying there, but since I work in, and I'm hoping we don't get no effects from the government, whatever's going on with these people in this budget, that might affect me. So my company is not government, they're government contracted, so they contract us. And so, and I guess they've been around for years, and they contract for insurance. I'll just put it like that, for government insurance. So I do two sides of government insurance. So I'm hoping that if these folks in the White House and all that shenanigans can get their crap together, and make some more monopoly money. I forgot who said that on here. I was like, okay, you preaching. Make some more monopoly money so we can stay in business. But I don't know if we get affected like remember the last time when they was fighting about money, and they got affected, like all the government agencies and folks was going to work, wasn't getting paid. So I don't know if that affects us on that level. I don't know if they pay contracts to a certain, I have no idea. But I know we're government contractors, so I don't know how that's going to affect us. Y'all, I feel a little ashy. I should have, oh, my backpack's over there. I don't feel like reaching for it. I don't feel like reaching for it. I got some stuff in there. But yeah, no. So I'm going to tell y'all a story. Who else came in? We got other people coming in. Somebody else said that. I don't know that I think I've been maintaining. Last time I went to my doctor, so when I got back here, I was about 460. I'm 440 something. So I'm going to be honest. I'm honest. Hey, Mandisa, what's up, baby? How's your weather? Where you at? And where you at in the country? And welcome back again. Mandisa done come in a couple times. So I know somebody else said my face looks thinner. I don't know that I've lost more weight. I'm maintaining, I think. With the 2 hernias, though, my eating is kind of weird. So I can only eat so much, which is good, which is probably why I'm maintaining. But when me and Jill went out today, and normally I would be able to kill, I got the bento box, and I would be able to kill the whole bento box. I ate like my miso soup. We got some shishito peppers. I ate that with Joe. I got the bento box that had salmon. I only could eat, and it was not a big piece of salmon. It's about that big. I only ate about half of that, and a little stir-fried vegetables that were underneath there. A little bit of the rice. I did ask for the gyoza. I ate the gyoza and a little salad that came with it. And then I also ordered, I like this thing called the Atkins roll. Illinois. Okay, you should be a little cooler. It's not, probably not. You guys, you'll get warm, but y'all don't get warm like we do. So what's your weather like? And I ordered the Atkins roll, which is like a cucumber roll with the raw sushi fish in the middle. And I think it's got salmon, and I forgot what other fish. Salmon and tuna. I think it's got another fish in there. I don't remember what it is. I just know the only fish that I don't like that they may do raw is eel. I do not like the taste of eel. So I don't like eel, and cooked fish. I don't like the taste of cod or red snapper. I don't like red snapper or cod. I got a hair on here, and that hair now, see, when you cognizant of it, then you pull at it. And you keep, see, I can feel him. I keep pulling at him because I'm cognizant that he long. That's not good. That's not good. And then I'll get in there with tweezers. Guys, I'm gonna talk about some family stuff and just life in general. And I don't know why. Well, I do know why. But at the same time, I've had some conversations with some friends. But I'm gonna talk about something because in my conversations with them, I was like, this is a good topic. But it's also a personal topic. So y'all know I always talk about Grumpy, so I never talk about my biological mother because that's another level of madness, okay? And recently, so here's a situation, and I'm going to get into it. So when I was younger, my mother had me first, okay? I'm her first child, and I'm the first for both her and Monty, so I'm their first child together. They never were married, so I'm what they call a bastardized kid. I'm born out of wedlock, okay? So somebody else came in. Welcome whoever else came in. So I'm born out of wedlock to both Monty and Grumpy and my mother. Her name is Frances. Okay. So my mother and them, they were just, I think, just out of high school, whatever. He was, I think, drafted into Vietnam. Monty did not fight in Vietnam, even though he's a Vietnam vet. He was an only son, so he served on the base in Germany. So the only son rule applied to him. So during his Vietnam draft time, I think he did 2 or 3 years, he served on the base in Germany. He got out, and then they had a job for him in Texas with Department of Agriculture. He did that for a minute until he found out that his father came down with prostate cancer, and I don't think the treatment was the same as what it is today, and I think they might have caught it too late. So Daddy ended up dying of prostate cancer. I guess I met him, but I was too young to remember. I was a baby. And I guess Francis took me out there to the farm one time. My biological mother is a very damaged lady, and it took a lot of time for me to get through this. I'm going to get to this story in this way. Basically, I grew up in a very abusive, physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse in the house that I lived in with my mother. The sexual abuse was from my stepfather, okay, which is my two younger brothers, their father, my half brothers with her. My mother was a person who, she had children, and she's a big woman too, she's a fat woman, and the level of lazy with her was, I had children to basically be indentured servant, and since I was the oldest, she treated me like I was her slave, basically. I cleaned, I cooked, I was washing dishes by the age of 7, 8. I was doing all the laundry for the entire house by the time between the ages of my late ages of 7, 8, and 9. I was washing laundry for all of us. My first younger brother with her, under her, was born when I was 9 years old. So there's a 9-year difference between me and the first youngest to me. And then the one underneath him, there's a 10-year difference. Both of them have done well as far as schooling. Because women tend to, and it's something I've noticed about mothers, they tend to coddle or lean towards male children and treat them different than girl children, okay? So I'm going to say that. So my mother was very abusive. She grew up in her own level of crazy abuse. Her mother was more geared towards my aunt, which is her sister. So there were 3 of them. And there was a brother who later we found out is adopted, but the scuttlebutt under that, and I was young when that was all being talked about, is that they think he may be one of the 2 parents' son by another individual. So they think that he may be maybe an extramarital affair. Somebody had him and they adopted him. So basically, to do what most people do, cover up. They did not know he was adopted until their mother died. And I guess whatever paperwork in the house, they found out he was adopted. I know my mother thought he was the son of a friend aunt by marriage of the family and my grandfather. I personally lean the opposite way. I think he's my grandmother's son by another man, because physically my mother's mother was a very thin lady. She was darker skinned, and to me there's a resemblance there. And she also had a bowel disorder, and his biological son has a bad bowel disorder, So I forgot what it's called, but he has he's even had a colonoscopy bag and then had it removed. So he has a major bowel disorder. And my grandmother she actually died of a bowel blockage, and she had a bowel disorder. Again, we're talking a time when the treatments weren't there, right? So, in growing up in that household, there was abuse. And I'm going to talk about this because what I realize in some of my conversations with people, and especially doing ministry, and when I talk to people, like I've got friends on here who obviously, I started the channel more as a trucking channel, and some of the people I've gotten to know were in trucking. And thank you for giving me a thumbs up. Yeah, give me a like, thumbs up, and if you guys come and see this, feel free to share it out. But what I found was that a lot of times when people grow up in abusive households, it becomes normal to them. As jacked up as those houses. Hey, PJ, what's up, baby? Welcome back. How's your weather? How you doing? When people, and I'm just keep talking, but I'll see y'all when y'all come in. When people grow up in those households, it becomes their normal. So one of the truck drivers I know, female truck driver, I've mentioned her a couple of times. I won't give her name here, but when I talked to her, and actually even Danielle, I can mention Danielle because Danielle's passed on, and me and Danielle had some heart to hearts about things that happened to her as a child. And a lot of us, especially females, there will be sexual abuses with us before, right when we either get into development mode, especially depending on what's going on. But we are more at risk and more susceptible because there's pervs. And a lot of pervs are going to gear towards girls. But I also know boys who have been sexually molested and abused, if not by family members, by friends of the family, or by even, somebody in the school system, an adult, but have been abused. And I'm talking about adult abuse, okay? Children have curiosity. That's a little different, but ultimately, and usually where that comes from, hey, Flatbed, what's up? Where you at in the country? And how you doing? I know you going between Texas and so forth, but where you at now? So, and I'm just going to keep rolling with the story. So, me and Danielle had talked. Danielle had been a sexually abused victim, and her acting out was more of a bully, beating up on people, getting in fights. And when she went to counseling, I think she's in PA, her counselor, because they were trying to get to the root, where is this anger coming from? Where is this aggression coming from? And the counselor said, have you been, is something just triggered? Have you been sexually abused? Has somebody, and I forgot, Danielle said at first she didn't understand. And then she said, has anybody touched you, in private parts inappropriately? And Danielle then told the story of this guy who I believe was arrested, is what I understood, in her situation. Many of them, like my pervy stepfather, they don't get, because you're dealing with too much. 92 degrees. Yeah, we're warm here. Where are you at, PJ? We're warm here. I would say we're between 80 and 90 here in Arizona. We're going to hit 100 something next Saturday. So I know the other one I talked to, female truck driver, she was molested by an uncle. A step great uncle. So she was raised by her grandfather and her step grandmother, and the step grandmother's brother molested her. She's now an adult. She's a truck driver, and I like her, but I understand some of her anger issues too. And there's a lot of things that can come from abuses. Oh, Kansas City. Okay, good deal. A lot of pretty country, by the way. A lot of abuses that can come from these things, and a lot is abuses, a lot of anger, a lot of different weird behaviors that come out of any kind of abuse, but sexual abuse especially. I know fellas who have reached out to me on here that I've talked to. I know one has gender dysphoria, considers himself transgendered. Again, I'm not a person that believes in the whole transgender thing, but I do understand gender dysphoria to me exists. We've tried to normalize it, but before, and in my opinion now, it's a psychological issue. And it usually has a root somewhere, whether it's a generational curse or in some sort of abusive or situations that happen. It's funny to me because sometimes people will say, oh no, my household wasn't abusive and my household was normal. I'm going to be honest, there is no normal. The garden happened. Y'all know I'm Christian. The garden happened. There's sin in every family. Some families are just more dysfunctional than others, but every family has some kind of issue. Everyone. Even the ones that look like they're cool. And they have what by man's standard would be normal. You let me peer into the background of that family, I will point out to you the issues. I got a friend right now. By all intents and purposes, he had a father and mother. He had siblings he grew up with. He had what would be a solid household. He had what looks to be a normal life. I met his mom, liked his mom, very, very nice lady. Control freak from hell, manipulator from hell. And it has permeated all of them in different ways. And I sit back and look. But again, if you don't recognize this is an issue in your household, it becomes your normal. So there are people that function in their dysfunction, okay? As I go and talk to people, what I realize though, which bothers me and is something I'm dealing with this weekend or coming weekend, is there are people who, as time goes on, you become an adult. And me and this particular one female truck driver, we talked about it because she's like, girl, I gotta tell you what my step grandmother did. So the step grandmother is very aware that her brother molested this young girl and has probably molested other people in the family. Actually, I know one of her family members. We worked at another job together. And I have a feeling based on some promiscuous issues with that young lady that this man also probably molested her. After I found out they were related, I was like, wait a minute. And I said, is he related? She's like, yeah, they're blood related. I'm not blood related. I was married into the family through the grandfather marrying this woman. And the woman that's her grandmother is blood related to this girl that I know. So I was like, well, there were things that this person did, and I was always like this. And I said, and I realized, y'all see, I'm pulling at the hair. I got a hair down here, y'all. I found, and he's long, and I'm pulling at him. And so I said, there were things that I saw with this girl. And I said, and I always wondered when we would go out because she was so promiscuous, so very sexual in nature. And a lot of that can stem from rape, molest, incest, a whole bunch of stuff, and really from sexual child abuse. It can stem. That's why, back in the day, they would go back, chicks became prostitutes or strippers, and went down that vein. And if you go back, a lot of them can tell you about sexual child abuse that happened in the household or somewhere in the line. So, and I'm gonna get to my family thing to tie it in here in a minute, but I want to just kind of talk about this in general because I was trying to explain to my friend Linda because I got some family stuff going on, and I was trying to. She said, "I don't understand. I don't understand why they're doing this, knowing what happened with you." And so I said, because they don't care. Okay. And so the same thing happened with this young lady. So the young lady tells me, Shannon, you won't believe, and I haven't talked to her in a while. I got to get in touch with her to see if she's okay. You won't believe what my step grandmother did. She told me that my uncle, this uncle is the step uncle who molested her, was at the house. Like, I'm supposed to come over and hang out. When she first told the associate of mine told her step grandmother that this man molested her, the grandmother sent her over to the man's house and said, don't stop it, don't come by this house anymore. It, I don't understand. It's amazing to me when you have people who you tell or they know you have been abused. Right, Kathy? That's exactly. You've been abused. And first of all, you put a child in a predicament to go back to the man she just told you has molested her. And you send her back to your brother to tell him not to come to the house anymore. Crazy. Grumpy told me a story, and I'm going to share this with you too. He told me a story of his the common law wife, that her son was dating a young girl. So y'all remember the movie Precious. And so believe me, that mindset, that weirdness exists because I have a mother who was not too far from that, okay? When I look at the whole picture of it. The he said that the lady's son was dating this girl. The girl was raped by her mother's boyfriend. When the girl went to her mama and told her mom, hey, he raped me, the mama kicked her out. Okay? It's sick and it's twisted. And I see it a lot in the sexual realm of abuses that happen. And I also see it a lot when it comes to females and males. Okay? Now, I'm going to move on here. Because I'm going to tell a story. And I'm very open. And I don't know, today I don't know why it pressed on me because I don't know if somebody else needs to hear it. But it pressed on me because I've talked with Linda last night. Joe and I talked about it today. Joe knows more depth than what Linda's more newer in the closeness range. But Joe knows more depth of my drama and my family situation. Some things he found out. Now, my best friend knows everything. She knows it all. And she has met my biological mother. Joe never did. My best friend's father was very well educated, degrees. And his thing was social work and children. He was like one of the Child Protective Service people out here, and he also worked for what we call Durango out here, which is our juvenile prison out here in Arizona. So her father was somebody, he read kids well, he read situations well. So he met my mother. The first time he's like, oh, okay, I like her. And he said, but there's something. But the second time, he then began to ask my best friend questions because he picked up something about my mother. And he said, Shannon's a good kid, but that kid's going through something. He picked it up. Something told him. And so he said something not right with her mama. Okay. And so Jane, as we got close, I began to disclose a lot of stuff. She told her dad, and her dad said, I told you I could pick up something. Her mom is foul. He said, Shannon's a good kid. And he liked me. He was adamant, and he told Jane, he said, there are friendships that you're going to have during high school that will not last. He said, but you and Shannon, I think, are going to be lifelong friends. And we are. It's really weird. We haven't seen each other since he passed. Back in our 1920s, I think she was 19 or 20 years old when he passed. And they flew her back here from Germany. And we did the dad's funeral. I was going to PC, Phoenix College, and we did her dad's funeral when he passed. And her dad was a man. That was a bad black man. My best friend is Korean and black mix, okay? So he was a man. And because she had somebody who's a man in her life, she's married a man. So a lot of times you have to have that in your life to get what you're going to get. So her husband, I like her husband. He is a man. Cool person. And he's a man. Not no crazy. He a man. Good-hearted man too. So, because you got usually when I see grown males, they grown males. That's somebody who would molest a child, someone who mess around on his wife, someone who don't take responsibility for his family. Monty was a grown male. There's a bunch of grown males in this world because they have not seen what a man is, and they don't know how to be a man. Her husband, luckily enough, while he grew up in a very bad area of Florida, he had an uncle who was military, and that was, I believe, what was his example of being a man. So he grew up being a man. Anyway, recently, the young truck driver female I know, a couple months back, had told me about the situation where she had helped the grandmother with some stuff, and then she had called. She said, and Shannon, she tells me that dude is over her house. She said, why would you tell me that this dude molested me as a kid is at your house? Like, I'm supposed to come over there and hang out and everything is cool. And Linda, my friend Linda, she said, Shannon, I don't understand, who does that? I said, my family does it. I don't know if y'all have seen that show, and I can't even watch it all because it triggers something for me. It's a show called, I think it's called The Greenleys or The Greeleys. It's about a church family. Making sure I look at your thing. It's a church family, and they basically, it's supposed to be like about a mega church, and the family, I forgot, what is her name? Lynn Whitfield? I think it's Lynn Whitfield. Greenleaf, that's it, Kathy. And I think you remember, because I couldn't get past, I don't think I got past episode 3 because I can't watch it. It triggers too much for me. But in the show, the daughter comes back with her daughter, okay? And they're all ministers, right? And the uncle, who is a Chester the molester, rapist, he's sitting at the dining room table. I think you remember, if you remember this episode, I think it's somewhere between episode, like, I'm going to say 2 or 3, because I don't think it was 1, may have been 1. She gets back there to help the family out with the ministry. She brings her daughter back, which is already twisted in and of itself, because you know that Chester the molester uncle is here at the house. Lynn Whitfield, I think this is her brother in the movie, okay? But it preaches, because this is very indicative of a mindset that is sick and twisted among humans. And I'm not going to say black families, I'm going to say among humans when it comes to victims and victimizers, okay? Victims and the person who victimized them. And so in this movie, and it's going to be a good example, I love this example because I was trying to explain it to Linda. I said, they're at the table. This ninja is at the table. Later, the daughter talks to her mama. The mama is aware of the complaint that this man has a Chester molester. And later you find out, I think he raped her sister, who committed suicide because of, most likely because of this issue of being raped by her uncle, okay? And you sit there as the mother and are denying that this ninja is a Chester the molester. Later, we also find that the ninja done raped somebody else's daughter. The church done paid him off, or he done paid him off. And so the mother, again, basically you done pimped your daughter to this ninja who's underage. And the daughter who's coming back, who I don't know, but I got a feeling she was also molested by the uncle too. And he now looking at your little girl you done brought with you. Like I said, I couldn't even get, because it's so twisted, but it's indicative and it's true of this type of situation. Okay, I'm gonna get up in here and I'm gonna share some of my business too, and I don't really care because I'm praying. It's funny because I watched this lady, I think her name is BMAC Wrights, and she's on Facebook. She's like a pastor's wife. I ain't gonna say I agree with her on everything, but Sister B on some stuff, on point on some stuff. And she had talked about a situation where people, we have to forgive, but the person who did the wrong to you will never apologize, will never admit the fault, and basically how you handle it. And I'm gonna get into that in a minute. So they sit at this table, the pervy uncle's at this table, you now at this table, you done brought your daughter into the madness of this crazy behind family and this Chester the molester uncle. No, baby, I wouldn't have went back there. Why are you there? And why are you there with your baby girl? Okay? Because you now putting her in harm's way with Chester the molester uncle. And your crazy mama who won't admit that her brother is a Chester the molester. Okay? And they sit at the table as if, get over it. This crap is normal. No, no, and no. I think Amazon just delivered me a package. No, no, and hell no. Y'all. I'm trying to explain. Hold on. A girl. Okay, see, I knew this was somebody today. I got you. The Lord has impressed this on me because it's been sitting on me, and a situation has happened in my family. So I'm gonna air my laundry on my mother's side, and I don't care. People think what they want to think, but the reason we go through a test is it's going to be a testimony for somebody else to get freedom. And when I'm done with this video, I'm gonna see if I can link the Facebook link for BMAC Rights when she deals with this issue, because she did it in such a, it's not on it's I think she's on TikTok and on Facebook, but I could, and she is on YouTube, but this particular clip is not. I was able to find the Facebook video of it because I had to check my aunt by sending it to her, and I'm gonna get to that in a minute, my mother's sister. So you have situations like this, and let me share another situation. So you've got that, and that's a movie, but that is whoever did their research or understanding of dynamics of this sickness that is in families and in people, where they allow and think that you should just get over your stuff and you should be there and sit at the table with the victimizer who has never taken accountability, never apologized for you, and is still as a butthole. My ninja next. You, if you're Christian, we are called to forgive, but the forgiveness is for us. When Christ hung out on that cross, he said, "Forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing." Forgive them. Don't get me wrong, though. And the reason he had to forgive them right then and there, because he is God. And had he let wrath happen right then and there, honey, he would have tore that place apart. But best believe, if they don't repent by the time he come back and by the time they hit that casket, Lord have mercy, because you going to hell and busting it open with a special place for you, because you decided to lie on God. You just, child, we won't even go there. It's going to be a special place for you. So when he says forgive them, for they do not know what do, that's for him. And it was saying, hey, forgive them, Lord, because Daddy God, I need you to forgive them, because that's his child hanging up on that cross. He tore his whole planet up. So right now, what Christ the Son is saying, hold your peace. But best believe he's giving them enough time. If they don't repent for the stuff they did, woo-wee, them folks responsible for him getting to the cross, Lord have mercy. Because it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. But if you look at how Christ always dealt with people who came at him and the ones who are responsible, the Pharisees, Sadducees, all them priests and folks, scribes of all them, he always walked away. He avoided the drama, the madness. He wasn't trying to go to them and hang out. He wasn't. He wasn't, and it bothers me. Thank you, Kathy. And prayerfully, the Lord is preaching. He wasn't trying to hang out with them. He wasn't trying to be buddy with the people who were coming at him to basically put him down, or because they wanted it to be about them, and they wanted to come at him, and they wanted people to reject him because of their jealousies. Okay, and that's another thing, is jealousies. I'm gonna talk about that with my mother. My mother has a very long, bad jealous streak. You weren't there for that reason, okay? He was like, I'm not here for that. I'm here to do what God sent me to do, and you the one caught up with your jealousies and your issues with me. I ain't got no issues with you. I'm just avoiding you in the madness. I'm ministering to these people. If you don't want to hear what I'm, keep it pushing. Why are you here? Okay, why are you here? So when we look at Christ, while it's not that level of abuse, but you did come into that when they beat him and everything to get him to the cross, there is a level of chastisement, of jealousy, of envy. And so they came in to bring strife into the situation when he wasn't there to minister to them because they didn't want to receive what he had to say. When we look at being a victim, people don't care about you. It's about them. It's about what they want. Whether it's to enslave you, beat you because of their own insecurities, their own jealousies, whether it's sexual predator stuff, it's about them. It's not about you. And when I say it's not about you, you're a non-entity to them. You're a thing. Okay? You're less than human. If you were human, they wouldn't treat you like they wouldn't treat you in that way. But they also have a humanity issue because something is wrong and spiritually wrong with them. And they got demons and everything else on board. But there is a group of people, they have power over you. And that's something that this lady says in there. And that's exactly, I'm getting ready to get into it. There is a group of people, and especially in the family line, which is amazing. I've even gone to churches where there has been, I didn't find out till later, that individuals in churches were accused of inappropriate relationship with minors. They were considered chesters. And, oh, you got to step out of this role, but you're still a member of the church. Ain't nobody taking you to the authorities. And ain't no investigation been done. The pastor knows about it. Other people in the leadership realm know about it. Now, I don't know if you're a Chester or not, but I know that a child has made a claim. A family has made a claim. They went to the pastor. You were working with the youth. And the pastor just says, oh, no, baby. Yeah, we're going to step you out of, I'm going to step you out of ministry. And we're going to also call in the authorities. And we're going to get an investigation going. And you're going to work that out because you need to tell us what was going on. Okay? There's some stuff going on. And that was a while back at another. And I didn't find out about it till a little bit later, right before I left the particular church I was at. And I was shocked because I did ministry with this individual. And I was like, but then I wasn't shocked. Because there was something about the individual that was off to me. I thought he was gay. But also some Chester the molesters that I know can appear to be gay. There's a spirit about them. So they can have a spirit that sometimes falls in that realm where it's like a sense to me like, oh, is he gay? And then you find out later they might be a Chester. And I'm like, okay, like I said, I don't know true false. That's why I mentioned no names. But I do know I found out that this individual had been accused. He could teach, but he couldn't be in this ministry anymore. He couldn't be in that ministry. And he had worked with the youth a lot, very geared toward the youth. That's when a lot of red flags come up for me. And I'm not saying that adults can't work with youth, but there's always that saying, avoid the very appearance of evil. And there's a reason for it. There is just wisdom in it, okay? Let's keep it pushing. So in the movie, they sit at this table. I think it's Lynn Whitfield. She's not buying that the daughter, and she knows her brother did this. I'm going to be honest. I have a problem when people try to act ignorant. She knew her brother was a Chester. She didn't want to deal with it. She didn't want to face it. Okay? She didn't want to face it. She knew he was a Chester molester. There is something weird to me. And again, the Bible tells us our fight is not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. So it's spirits behind people. There's something wrong with people, such as my associate's step grandmother, that sent her as a child to tell the Chester the molester not to come to the house anymore. That now that the girl is grown, you gonna tell her like everything's copacetic, that this molester dude is gonna be at your house. No, baby, no. We're not to hate, and we are to pray for those who do evil. But there's also scripture behind this madness. And the Bible, when Christ was talking, he said, if you do something to these little ones, meaning children, it would better be a millstone around your neck when it comes time for your time, because the judgment for you is going to be some extra special stuff. So I don't care if it's physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse to a child. Woe be unto you if you don't repent before you hit that casket or before the Lord come back. Because if you don't repent, woe be unto you. Because that tells me your trip into hell is going to be extra special. Special. Special, special. So recently, and get into my personal stuff, I'm telling you those stories to build up to something. Recently, the youngest of the two brothers, so the one that's 10 years out from me, from my half brother on my mother's side, he is getting his doctorate degree from Arizona State here in Arizona State University in communications. Intelligent. He teaches at one of the junior colleges here. And it's weird because the older of the two had initially reached out to me. He lives in Texas now, and he's now divorced with two kids. And now all of a sudden, I don't know, he's not speaking. I don't know what that's about. And I'm like, hey, we're grown. If you got an issue with me, you need to come with it because we grown. And I raised them while she does not tell them that. I raised them for a good portion of their life. So it was funny because her sister said one time, they don't know what you did for them. Okay, my aunt, her sister said they don't know. They may not remember what you did for them. But the older of the two, I think he remembers some things, okay? I raised them my mother did not change diapers. She did not do the umbilical cord. She didn't do the circumcision. I did that. I taught them to walk. I taught them to pee. I potty trained them. I fed them. I was their biological, so to speak, mother without having them come out my stuff up until my mom kicked me out at age 15, okay? And it was because I was tired. I was tired. And I tell people this, I was literally, I'm going to be honest, I was mentally fractured. And I didn't even know the depth of how broken I was until later. But I will tell you, I used to think about ways to do harm to that woman. And I'm talking about harm where she wouldn't be on this planet no more. And for a child to think that mentally tells you how broken I was, okay? I'm honest because I believe that sometimes we don't share our testimony and then other people don't know how to get free. And so you continue in the madness of what you're in. So like my friend right now, he, and I don't know if this is a cultural thing because he's not African American, he's Latino, and I do see it more. I see something more in Latino families where they tend to tolerate a lot of drama. And black people, there's a point where we'll just like middle finger out. You know, you get the hell out. I'm not going to deal with you. Not all, but there are some. Okay. And quite more than I think in the Latino community. But in his family and in other Latino families, they tolerate a lot of weirdness. I mean, just, he had a nephew who tried to stab him. He brought him back in the house. I mean, if I tell you the stories, it's like madness. Okay. And he now has these people still living in his house, and half the time he's stressed out because they're crazy. And I believe that generational curses exist. Like I said, his mom was a control freak, major manipulator, and it has permeated his family. And he has some people in his house who are abusive that he brings back in. Like I said, you bring them back into that. It's insanity. But when you're dealing with sexual abuse or physical abuse victims where a child has been beaten, been molested, raped, any kind of abuse from an adult, and then you expect them once they become an adult to sit at the table with these buttholes and to act as if nothing happened, and that Chester the molester, that abuser, never apologizes, never admits fault for their actions, never takes ownership of the things that they did to you or allowed to happen to you. And you're supposed to sit at the table because other family members just want to act like it didn't happen. Similar to my associates, I'm just making sure similar to my associate's grandmother, her step grandmother, telling her that the uncle was there, like, oh, you can come on over to the house. And she said, why would she invite me there with him there? Because they do not care. They don't care what happened to you. Something is wrong mentally with that person. She already showed you who she was when she told you to go as a little girl over there after you told her you were molested by this butthole and to interact with this ninja. And then still, you can't come in my house. My brother's father, I haven't seen that ninja in forever, and I probably might be in handcuffs if I did. No. I'm not going to go sit at a table with you. It's not copacetic. It's not cool. You're a perv. And even if you repent, there's a level of done on this level. I have to forgive him. I do. That's honestly. And I've forgiven him. I pray that brother gets his life right, but we're good. I want nothing to do with you. But what I did when I finally realized, because honestly, it's hard because when you're growing up in the level of dysfunction, you sometimes don't realize the dysfunction until you're out of it. And it took me to age 40, at age 40, to understand a lot of the bad dynamics. I had I'm going to call her an aunt by marriage, who told me that my mother had accused me of having a relationship with her husband, my brother's father. I'm 9 years old. A 9-year-old child cannot have, when this incest stuff started happening, I hit my period at 9, and at that point, that ninja was on me like white on rice. Jacking off by my bed, opening body clothes. I'm telling y'all facts. My mother suspected this and never came to me. She goes to a great aunt and tells her of the suspicion as if I'm having a mutual relationship with a grown male. But I believe my mother knew about his attractions when she first married him. Okay? I'm being raw with y'all. I'm being real with you. This is my biological mother and why I don't deal with her anymore. And I tried to interact even after I got grown, but every time the woman came back with just cracking her butt cheeks and taking a huge dump on me, even when I was like, I'm going to try to overlook you. I'm going to try to get along with you. Every time. And like I said, I'm going to lay it out and get ready to tell some of my testimony on my mother's side. You should hear my friend Linda. Linda was hot as fish grease when I first told her about everything. Linda, like, girl, she said, right now, I'm so mad right now, I can't even think. Right now, because I'm supposed to go over to my brother's to drop off I did already send one graduation gift. I'm going to take a bottle of the wine or champagne, I haven't decided, and a card congratulating him, because I don't have any ill will towards my two brothers. They can't help we come from crazy. They can't. It's like the Monty's kids. Now, I don't deal with Monty's kids anymore, not even really the half-sister. I was very offended when I dealt with them, and even on the car issue. Monty didn't leave none of us hardly nothing, some chump change. And really, to her, I know there is now a life insurance policy. I know it's only $2,000, and I don't know how they're going to work that out. I sent my paperwork in, and there's too many kids, so it might be $100 each child. Who the hell knows? I'm not worried about that. It's going to be his chump change. But I needed a car. And the way they acted with me, like, here are the keys. And like my friend said, just leave it. She said, because they're not mature enough. She's absolutely right. I'm dealing with black folks and ghetto black folks, because my thing was everything I was doing when I was interacting with that situation was trying to guard them from some of the crazy I knew, at least on his mother's side of the family. I didn't even know the crazy on the dad's side until later. And I was like, I'm done. And now I see the crazy in them because he wasn't a father to any of us. And unfortunately, if you don't see better, you don't do better, and you become just like the butthole you came from. Okay? I'm getting ready. I'm telling the story for a reason. And I don't know, today I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm the only one. I think people need freedom. And it's amazing to me because the sister-in-law I have, she's white. And I like, out of the two sister-in-laws, I liked her better. Because the other sister-in-law I met, she's black and Latino mix, and she kind of had a little couple snappy answers. I don't dislike her, and I asked her, was she okay when they went through the divorce? Because I know women usually get the short end of the stick when you divorce a man. You get stuck with the children, you get stuck with more of the responsibility, and oftentimes, I don't know what's true, what's false, usually it's that when divorces happen, sometimes they happen because that other person found someone else, and typically it's more so the man who finds another female, whatever. I don't know if that's what happened or if my brother just said I'm out, what their issues were. But that particular sister-in-law, there was really no interaction. But when I found out they were divorcing, I said, I don't need to know the reason why. I just want to make sure you, since you're those kids' mother, are you okay? Because like I said, I realize women oftentimes get the short end of the stick. And even though he's my brother, women usually get the heavier responsibility of doing more of the rearing of the child. And the man is he's free and fancy free. Now, I know they have custody and he has them for weekends. But again, mama is the one doing the majority of the stuff. And you chilling. You got, weeks and stuff like that. So I'm just real. And even though, like I said, we didn't click, me and his wife, and I got right off. She didn't care for me. I didn't dislike her. I didn't know her. I know that she made a little snappy remark upon our first meeting, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm 55, baby. You a child to me, because there's a 10 years difference between me and you. At least between me and my brother, a 9-year difference. So I'm rounded out to 10. You a child in my world. I'm 50 some years old, so I already got your little snappy remark. I'm not a fool. But the other sister-in-law, the white sister-in-law, I actually like her. I like her rapport. I like her. I haven't met her physically, but we've talked on the phone. We interacted in writing, and I get, maybe she's a very sweet spirit, but I don't know if it's a naivety or if it's, let me finish about my mom. You'll understand. So my mother, let me back the story up. So this might be long and I don't care. Y'all hanging in here with me. My biological mother went to this great aunt. She made this accusation. I did not know about it. My last time with my mom, Child Protective Services had to get called in. She punched me, beat me, kicked me through the quad area of our apartment complex, okay? I'm a good kid. I'm not sleeping around. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink. I'm raising your kids. I'm cleaning your house. I'm doing all this. And at the time when the stepfather was in the house, I'm trying to keep this nigga from raping me. I'm just keeping it 100. So I'm dealing with a lot emotionally. You come home, you beat the hell out of me. You talk to me crazy. It was funny because when I saw the movie Precious, everything except for the rape. And I think that had he not left, my stepfather, it would have gotten to a rape. Everything but the rape, what reminded me of my mom. Okay. That this person who, I want this ninja. So when my biological mother first married my brother's father, we went to meet his family. Okay. Now I'm 7 years old. I met the family. I'm 7 years old. And I realized something ain't right with these ninjas. Okay. So if I'm 7 years old and I realized something ain't right, you realize that. Okay. I'm 7. She married him. My mom's a fat woman, so I also believe low self-esteem. She married him. And I remember when they first got married, we moved into this little house in the hood that the aunt by marriage, the great aunt by marriage, had property. So she rented it out to my mother and my stepfather. There was a porch on the front and a porch on the side, like, little stoop, almost kind of like East Coast, but it's a house. Concrete steps where you step up into the house. I think she was braiding my hair or something, and I had hair. I had long hair. Can't grow it like that now, but I had long hair back then when I was a kid. So we're sitting on the porch, and his brother comes up. And his family had a lot of drug issues, drug and alcohol. So the brother comes up, and she's braiding my hair. And she says to me, if him or his brother ever try anything with you, let me know. Now, as a 7-year-old, I'm not understanding. Honestly, I'm not fathoming what the hell she's talking about. Try what? Okay. Honestly, I was a pretty much sheltered kid. I was a good kid. I wasn't caught up into a lot of stuff. I didn't realize that until like I said, in my 40s, it was like God played a movie. I didn't go to counseling. God, it was the Holy Spirit of God working with me. And he started playing back things that my mother said and did. When I hit my period when I was 9, okay? When I was 9 years old is when I first had my first cycle. And she told the stepfather, and that piqued that interest, boy. And so he would make comments about my pads being in the trash. She's doing my hair again. And she said, he's really interested in you being on your period. Again, I'm a kid. I'm not fathoming, and you don't think that your mom is this ratchet, okay? You just don't. You don't think that the person who is your mother is so ratchet that she realizes that this ninja, that she's keeping him by her child because he has an attraction for her child. And you know it. You're sick. You then go and tell the great aunt who rent the house from that, oh, I think Shannon and right, and I'm getting ready to get into it, Kathy, because I'm gonna tell you about my niece's, my play niece, her sister, and if I tell you that, that's madness even more. The mother should be a protector, but instead to keep a piece of dick in your house, not even a grown male, to keep it and act like you got something. You are willing to have your child, and you're beating me down, physically beating me down. I would lock my door to keep this Negro out. I think he would tell her, and then she would get up, open, and then beat the holy hell out of me. I'm not a bad kid. There was a point where I picked out all my hair in the middle. I was so stressed with everything that was on my plate. I'm raising my brothers. I'm 7 to 15 years old. I raised those two boys. No, excuse me, 9 to 15 years old. I raised those boys. Potty trained, walking. Anthony broke his leg. I took care of that. Everything. As a matter of fact, I beat the girl behind who caused him to break his leg, because they were like my children, even though I didn't realize that was the role she had placed me in. And she'd bring her fat behind home and either dirty up a bunch of dishes. She was a great cook and wouldn't do anything, sit her fat butt on the couch. And I had to clean the whole house, wash everybody's clothes, including hers, iron everybody's clothes, including. I was an indentured servant, and raise my brothers. I'm talking about at one point, oh, I want him to be on regular diapers, like and have to wash the dookie out in the girl. Y'all don't. If I tell you my story, this is my biological mother. She's a piece of work. So there was a point where it finally broke for me, and I said, I'm tired, and that's Kathy. Honey, you and Linda would get along right now because Linda was hot when I got through telling her the story. Linda said, tell Joe to put me on speed dial. Because if you have a problem when you go over there to deliver that gift, I'm coming. She said, I got you, sis. I'll be there. And I might have backup. I love Linda. Linda hood sister. And so Linda like, I'm coming. Tell Joe, and Joe cracked up laughing. He said, I'm not gonna have y'all trying to bail y'all out of jail. So, and I said, we're not gonna have no problem. We don't have a problem because we ain't going in. We ain't staying. Joe's gonna deliver that gift, or if we see somebody go in the house, we're gonna hand. So all I have is a card and a bottle of wine. I've already sent the other gift because it was a gift card to him. Because I have no ill will with the two brothers. Zero. My issue is with my family, my mother and her siblings. And I'm gonna get to that too, because there's other dynamics there. So all of this, and I'm really giving y'all a snapshot of what took place. I did not realize, and the lady who told me, I didn't realize what she was trying to communicate to me, because she asked me, did something happen with you And your stepfather, and then I told her about the molest. I told her what was going on. And she said, I thought it was more like that. And she said, your mother said this. And at the time, it wasn't clicking for me. It didn't click. And it was funny because we had gone to an Assembly of God church. And one of the ladies, white lady, because our church was well, semi-diverse, but more white. It was white, Latino, black. And I think we were the only black family initially, and then some other black families came in, but we had, but it was mainly white. So one of the white ladies, she was really sweet, and she said, I need to talk to you. And I stayed after with the youth program, and she said, I'm going to say this to you, and I hope you get it. She said, your mother is very jealous of you. Be careful. I didn't understand. Again, I was naive. I lived in this jacked up household bubble of my mother's crazy. So I didn't understand. And that crazy was all I knew. And I didn't know that crazy was crazy. I just knew that I thought about evil things to do to her, like let her not wake up because she was a butthole. Okay, I really thought about ways to do this. But when you take somebody to where they're thinking that, that means there are some major mental issues going on, and there's some major abuses going on in the house. Like I said, I pulled out all bottle of my hair, a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't know why. I didn't know this. I didn't understand it until I was in my 40s. And it was funny because when me and Danielle were talking about how she started acting out with the sexual abuses that were happening to her, I'm like, okay. And then the other young lady who I know who's in trucking, she's done time, and she has a temper issue, and I don't think she realized, and she's in the lifestyle. I don't think that she realizes that that is all part of the damages that came from the sexual abuse. Not only that, her father was a drug addict, so that's why her grandparents ended up raising her. Her mother died when she was young, and so there are dynamics that are really jacked up in her life that I think there's a lot of rage, there's a lot of anger, and she needs to talk to somebody because she needs to manage it. She's not, in my opinion, Christian like me. Okay, so for me, it was me and the Holy Spirit of God showing me in my 40s. I didn't put into context everything. I couldn't put that into context. I had no way of understanding it, okay? I just knew my biological mother was foul. Moving years ahead, my grandmother died. She did come to the funeral. Me and Monty started building a relationship, and then she gonna say, well, he wasn't there for us. No, I'm a child. It's your responsibility to pursue him to do what he's supposed to do as a parent. If he stopped paying for child support me at age 9. If he wasn't doing that, it was your job to go back to the court system and require him to pick up his payments again. You didn't do that. That's on you. I'm a child. I can't defend myself like that. That is the responsibility of the parent. Okay? And I hope this blesses somebody because, like I said, I'm going to put some stuff out here. Years later, her father dies. My grandfather, I didn't say he was wealthy. He was black comfortable. And I don't know if I can even say he might have had with his properties and CDs, maybe my grandfather had 100,000 or more, worth of assets, okay, which isn't a lot of money. He had 3 children. He had my aunt, who's the oldest, their brother, who's the one who's adopted, and then my mother, who's the baby. My uncle was into drugs. He wasn't here. He wasn't around. So my grandfather did not put him in his will. Now, the will was not fully filed properly, but the will was available because we had a cousin who is also the great aunt's, the son that I talked about by marriage, that was an attorney, okay? So he did the will. He had a copy of it, and we knew the intent of the will. And the only 3 people in the will was me, my aunt, and my mother. The uncle was not in there, okay? So I'm getting ready to tell you about the extended kids because in their household. So when you guys come from an abusive family, trust me, there's abuses that go back to where they grew up because it's a trickle-down effect. They didn't get there just by, my household was wonderful, and I just came up and became a dick. That's not usually how it works. It is a trickle-down theory. And even though my parent was the one who took it, I think, her mental break, which is why I do forgive her, but I'm done. I'm done. And I'll get to that in a minute. On numerous occasions, I tried to interact with her. She either say something or do something. By the age, my grandmother died, and then by the age I hit 29, I got really sick. I think I've talked about that. I ended up in the hospital. And make sure nobody came in. I ended up in the hospital and I ended up with blood clots, okay? My leg was swollen. I had pneumonia, which we think might have been the first clot. They then found the 14 centimeter mass, which later grew up to 17 centimeter mass. I'm on a walker, I'm on oxygen, and Monty's people contacted my biological mother, and she showed up, which was initially what I thought was kind, but it was going to be drama because she crazy. They said when I got released, which I learned a vital lesson. I can't jack with you ninjas. They said, you can't go home by yourself yet. You've got to recuperate. We can either put you in a nursing facility, a rehabilitation facility, or you're going to stay with a family member. So she volunteered. You can come stay with me and the boys will help you get back on your feet. Seemed to be nice. She was there almost every day. I'm like, okay, you showing this might be the olive branch. Never again has apologized for any of the madness. Y'all, I'm going to let y'all know, I don't know if I was there 2 days, and then it became madness. I had people from my job, people from my church, and a friend had come in from out of town. His name was Anthony. I have a brother named Anthony, but this is a friend. He found out that I was sick. He got a hold of me, and he's like, where you at? I'm coming to see you. So my biological mother perceives that she is going to interview everybody who might be gay to find out, because I'm raising 2 boys. Let me help you. My brothers were 17 and I think 18 years old at that time. If they don't know if they like men or not, there's a problem. I'm just going to tell you. I'm not going to have this, and just bully that boisterous. So with my biological mother, what you have to understand, she's a bully and she likes conflict because she's a fat woman. So she feels she can push you around. Okay. So on top of that, she likes to argue. She wants to fight because it's like sex to her. She gets off on it. And if you get into her emotional realm, she wins. So I figured that out about her. And because I figured that out, I went totally calm. I said, you know what? It's okay. Also, my training from the bank and dealing with people who get irate. I said, I think it's time for me to go home. All of a sudden she snapped because she didn't expect that. You thought that because I'm sick, I'm so in need of you. Oh no, Ninja. I done been without you for at this point I was 29 years old. I really haven't interacted with you except for funerals. So guess what? I'm going to take myself home. And if I have to drag my dead body around my house, me and you done. Because who does this? She had also accused a very good Christian friend of mine who was straight as an arrow. This girl straight as hell and Christian was accusing her of an intimate relationship, and she overheard it. She gonna lie. I ain't say that. Yes, you did. This girl don't know you from a can of paint. I know this girl. She ain't gonna lie on you. Cubby is a sweet, sweet person. Will take care. And Cubby actually, let me tell you how good Cubby is. We met when I was at Sprint. I put her as a full power of attorney on my accounts. She paid my rent from my account. She came and cleaned up my house for me. This is Christian. That's what Christian people do. She came and brought me food. She came and checked on me. Do you need anything? I am going out of town. What do you need? I paid the rent. I took care of this. Here's all your receipts. That's a Christian friend, okay? You're going to say something to basically try to tarnish this woman's reputation, and you don't know her from a can of paint because you need a dang life. You all up in this Kool-Aid. I'm recuperating. Dude, I almost died. What the hell is wrong with you? So I left her house. I went home. And then I confronted her on everything. I confronted her about the conversation with the great aunt. I ain't say that. This woman don't have no reason to lie to you. What does it benefit her? So you blatantly aren't taking ownership of your shiznit. You're not. At this point, that was kind of the straw that broke the camel back. It was too much water under the bridge with her. My grandfather had died. I'm trying to think if that was before. No, it was after. He died and I had to deal with her for the death, okay? I was the first family member who was contacted. A cousin of mine on Monty's side had saw the news about the murder. My grandfather was murdered here in Phoenix, my mother's father. And I was the first family member who was contacted. My grandfather had several properties, and I ended up getting the call. I walked into work. I didn't even know because I had a pager. I didn't have a regular phone. I had my pager. I wasn't worried about nobody because I wasn't bothered. I was a long distance operator for Sprint back then. So when I walked in the building, supervisors met me because my cousin on Monty's side said, I'm trying to get a hold of my cousin, and gave my name. And she works there, and we don't have a phone number for her. And I don't know when she's going to be in there, but there's news, and I don't think nobody in the family knows, but I know she works for you guys. The message got to a supervisor there. They met me at the back door. They took me into, when I walked in, because I worked nights, I walked in and they said, take whatever you need. And my grandfather's murder was playing on the news at the same time they're announcing to me that he was shot and killed in his place of business. Okay? This is my mother's father. So it's going to be long, y'all. Enjoy. So at this point, and I'm telling you the dynamics because I'm going to get to current events. At this point, I get in my car and I head to my cousin meets me at my place of business, and she says, and my cousin Lynette, she's deceased now. This is Monty's people. She not even on this side. This is my mother's side. This ain't even, but they, we all knew each other. So she said, I found out that your mama and the boys are on like a vacation, a staycation at what's called the Golf Land. They're staying at this hotel. And I said, okay. So I got up there. And I can't remember if I called my Aunt Rose yet, but I believe I either called my Aunt Rose because my Aunt Rose was she has always been my favorite aunt, and because she was my only escape as a child from the madness of my mother. And I would spend summers. This is when I was a school teacher. I would spend summers in Tucson with her and her husband at the time. He's a crazy perv too. We'll get to that later. Not to me, but to their adopted kid. Anyway, we'll get to that later. Well, I won't get to that. I'm not even going to go to that because that's a different level of madness. But anyway, which I think is strange that two sisters married two different dudes who were pervs with children. I'm going to leave that alone because that tells me something in the line. So turn around and my aunt, I think I called her. I can't remember who we called. So when I got to the hotel, my cousin beat me there because we both drove separate cars. And when I got to the hotel, my cousin had already, because she can't keep her mouth shut, she said, I think you should wait for, when they call me by my middle name, Doll, you should wait for Doll. And so she said, you wait. And Frances said, no, you need to tell me, my mother's name is Frances. You need to tell me why you're here, Lynette. And so Lynette then tells her Papa was dead. So when I drove up and I got in there, she said, do you have a key to Daddy's house? Of course I did. And I said, yeah. She said, you need to get to Daddy's house and secure the house. So my grandfather was somebody, he was old school. So he kept cash in the house. He kept money. So where he was shot and killed, his place of business, he had been messing with two chicks there. One was an ex-girlfriend, one was a current girlfriend. They ratchet. They both proceeded. They did get to the house, to my understanding, and they cleaned out whatever cash was in the house. I did get to the house. I finally secured it. And my aunt later flew in. And of course, she's the oldest child, so she took over. And the newspaper, we were interviewed. They quoted me wrong. I'm his niece in the thing, but I'm actually his grandchild. And they did an article on him, all this other stuff. When he died, here is where more ratchet stuff happens. So, and that's why I don't even want to deal with them. I want to deal with family. So, my mother's side of the family, her brother, her sister, brother finally get a hold of him. He gets flown in. And when everything's discussed, because it would be their choice, but we did have an active will. So I knew I was getting a house. And there was a CD in my name for about 10 or 20 grand, something like that. I can't remember. And so, and then my mother, she had CDs. My aunt had CDs. And there were houses, that property that was supposed to go to them. There was one extra house, and I don't know who that was supposed to go to. And then there was one house he was in the process of buying, but I don't think he did the purchase correctly. So that one, they had to let go. They couldn't keep it because I think something about the title and how he did it wasn't correct. But all the other properties, they went accordingly. Since there was a main family home and the shop, they were right next to each other, so that was given to my aunt. There was another house and a lot next to it. That was my mother's. The house that I ended up staying with my grandfather at when my mother kicked me out, that house was on the next street. That was given to me, or that was mine that my grandfather had for me. And then there was a house that he now lived in that belonged to a great grandmother, which is my mother's mother, who was ratchet, a very bitter, very evil lady, which is what I think has passed down to the two girls as well as the son. But anyway, but especially my mom and my aunt, very just bitter and vicious. My mother, though, especially, but my aunt can be it too. Okay, still love my aunt, but she can be it too. And she, like I said, she was my favorite aunt. The Then there was another house down the street that was a rental property. I don't know who that went to. And then I know it didn't go to the boy. And then they gave him the house that my grandfather was living in. My grandfather had two vehicles. He had a Cadillac and he had an old, I think it's a Ford or Chevy truck, one of the old, like classic ones. That was his work truck. It wasn't anything fancy. It needed some work, but I loved that truck. I like old things. So I had said, hey guys, when she said James is going to get the Cadillac, and I said, what's going to happen with Papa's truck? And she said, I said I would like to have it. Okay, you can have it. So I was going to get the truck and the property that what I was already allotted to me, plus whatever CDs. Okay, this had already been discussed. So I'm heading to work. I'm living my life because they haven't gotten arrangements set up yet for my grandfather. All of a sudden, I don't even remember if the funeral had been done or not. I don't think the funeral had been done. I don't know all the details yet. I can't remember. But I can tell you, I'm on my way to work, and my aunt calls and says, we need you here at the bank, Wells Fargo. And I don't know if it was First Interstate or Wells Fargo at the time. I think it might have been Wells Fargo. It might have been First Interstate before they converted to Wells Fargo. We need you at the bank. I said, I'm on my way into work. She goes, well, Daddy's going to leave you enough money. You can come here to the bank. And I'm like, who's we? And it was her and the brother. Okay. And I said, well, where's Frances? Frances is my mother. Now, again, I'm not a bad kid, y'all. I'm a fair individual. I believe in fair. It's just like when I was trying to deal with Monty's ratchet other three children. God forgive me. I'm going to keep it real. If they watch it, I don't care, because they were foul to me in my opinion. The sister going to tell me, well, Mackenzie, which is young, he going to have a problem with you having Daddy's car because they talked about that car. Okay, then we're going to sell the car and just split the proceeds, of which was never done. And when I talked to him, oh, yeah, we're going to sell it. We'll get you some money. That ain't never happened. Zero. Okay, but that's okay. Y'all do you, because they going to stick together, because they were raised together. They didn't give a dang about me. Okay, so it's fine. Do you. I'm going to let God deal with you. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I don't hate, but I'm done. I'm going to leave you in God's hands. There's a point where just stuff is just ratchet. I'm going to leave you in God's hands. I'm tired. I'm old. And I'm not. That's what my friend said. They're not mature. Move on. Who does that? They do. So coming back to my grandfather and just ratchet families. So I got ratchet on both sides, just different levels of ratchet. So when I come back over to deal with this, I'm supposed to get the truck, and then what I'm supposed to get in the wheel. My uncle gets the car, the Cadillac, and he gets a house, which was the nicer of the houses in a more livable neighborhood, because the other houses were now, the area was going more industrial. Where my uncle lived, it was more like a neighborhood. It was more acceptable. And he ended up they gave him one of the houses, the one that my grandfather was living in. They gave him the Cadillac. So he moved back here to Arizona. Well, he was going to move back here. So anyway, they tell me to come to the First Interstate. Well, I realized my biological mother's there. So to me, your brother and your sister doing something that ain't right. And I didn't understand why they wanted me there. Well, apparently I forgot when I lived with my grandfather, he put my name on everything. They couldn't get to their money without me. None of it. My mother couldn't get to her money. My aunt couldn't get to her money. My uncle didn't get crap. So he didn't get no cash. We got cash. They couldn't get to him. They couldn't get to the CDs. Everything was locked in a safety deposit box. My name was on everything. My name was on accounts, and my name was on the safety deposit box. They couldn't get to it. So for me, because of how I think, the same thing I try to do with Monty's other children, I'm trying to be fair. And I'm trying to work with y'all, but you want to be ninjas. So I call my biological mother and I say, look, your brother and sister are at the bank. At what bank? First Interstate Bank. They didn't tell her. So that tells me that's shady to me. They ain't told you. And I'm telling you, you need to get there because this needs to be fair and it needs to be equitable because we three, me, you, and your sister, are in the will. You're adding him in because he's your brother. That's honorable. But we all need to be there if this is something going on and there's stuff in there for all of us, with the exception of him. He there to see what he could get. But we all need to be there. So you should be there as well. Meet me at the bank. You done treated me like crap, okay, from when I was sick. You done did all this shenanigans, but I'm still kind enough to tell you. Well, no, I'm trying to think when that happened. Yeah, it happened afterwards. Yep. I'm still kind enough to try to be fair in a situation when your daddy was killed. And my grandfather, I love my grandfather. I'm trying to be fair with you. Okay? And I'm trying to say, you guys all need to be there. Because to me, that's the right thing to do. Crack butt cheeks, I'm getting to it. We get there, and that's when I find out the reason. I had to call out. I did call out. And when we get there, and one of the First Interstate Wells Fargo ladies, after they left, she said, you stay. I need to talk to you. She said, I'm going to tell you something, Shannon. She said, your grandfather had been in here just a couple of weeks before. He couldn't get in touch with you. She said, had he been able to get in touch with you, your mama, your sister, her sister, and your uncle wouldn't have got nothing. He was going to put everything in your name. I was like, huh? Now, I still would have been fair. I would have been like, no, y'all get this. This your daddy. Here, have this, and this. But she said, your grandfather said that baby don't have no daddy, and that baby work hard. She been working since she was in high school. She's sharp and she work hard. And I think I'm gonna put everything in her name because the kids, they all got lives, and that baby, she done got, jacked. Okay. So the Wells Fargo lady tells me that. She says, you need to be careful of your extended family, she said, because she's realizing I'm dealing with a brood of vipers. I'm dealing with vultures. Okay. And I'm trying to be fair. And that said something about my character, that this woman felt comfortable enough to pull me over and talk to me. Again, young and dumb. Young and dumb. I can't play it now. I'll probably see Jesus before this now. So at this point, I'm trying to be fair. All of a sudden, I don't know if it's a day or two later, my uncle calls me. Shannon, I'm also going to be taking daddy's truck. I said, no. I said, Rose and Francis said, my mother said that I was going to get the truck. You got the Cadillac. You get what we give you. My name is on everything, bruh. You guys can't even get to your money without me. What the hell? Like, what the hell? Talking to me like I haven't seen you in years, since I was a little girl. I don't even really remember you. I think I met him one time. He was outside and I heard he was into drugs and everything. I don't know you, bruh. And you coming out your neck. So then I said, no. So then the next thing I know, my mother calls. I heard you and James had an issue. I said, well, yeah, he called me and I said, you guys, Shannon, you get what we give you. She says the same thing. Let me tell you how my crazy buying mama decided to deal with this issue. So my aunt had to go back to Tennessee because she now had relocated to Tennessee. She had to go back because she's a teacher. She go back to Tennessee. And I'm telling this story for a reason, just to show how ratchet the family is. She go back to Tennessee. And they had to get a lawyer because my grandfather did not file the will properly. But we were still going to honor the intent of the will. And Francis and my aunt said, if there's anybody who has an issue with the will, it's going to cost more money out of daddy's estate. Okay. So we don't want to have no issues. So at this point, I'm pissed. I'm like, I'm not signing off on this. I said, first of all, I'm told this, then I'm treated like this. I'm not signing off. So my aunt, because I always got along with my aunt. Like I said, she was my favorite aunt. I always got along with her, even though she can be just as vicious and nasty as my mother. I always loved my aunt. She was my favorite aunt. That was my peace. That was my only mental break, was interacting with her in the summers. And I don't know that she even realized how much of a blessing that was for me, especially in the madness of dealing with her sister and the whole pervy stepfather. It was like It was my escape from the crazy that I grew up in. I didn't realize that then. I realize that now. So my aunt, she calls because I wasn't signing off on anything. Francis had me so hot. She's like, Shannon, we need to do this for everybody to get their money. And then you're on everything. So you're going to have to go to the bank and mail everybody CDs out. I could have burnt their CDs. I could have been a total dick, y'all. I didn't. I did the right thing. I still did the right thing and still got crapped on. So my mother, in order to be a dick, she takes the classic truck of my grandfather, gives it to a white man at her church free of charge, and basically opens her butt cheek and take a dump on me. And I think that was her way of dealing with the whole thing because she's just a dick. And she gives the classic truck free of charge to a white man at her church. A to the whole. This woman is a piece of work. I got my property. I got my CD. I got to the bank. I mailed out the stuff as according to them, what belonged to each person. And I had not spoken, I don't think I spoke to my mother after that at all, because at that point it was more extra done between the health issue with her, and Monty came in with the I don't like to drive. All this is happening with the health issue. They both were a-holes at the same time. And then we get to this. So at this point, I'm done. And I don't think I've seen my uncles. I really haven't interacted with my uncles since then. I think, well, I'm trying to think. Maybe one time afterwards. But let me tell you, God don't like ugly. So my uncle did not pay the property tax on the house they gave him. So the next door neighbor bought the house using the property tax and evicted my uncle out. Honey, you want to be a ninja? Like I said, leave people in God's hands. God, you can't do it no better than Jesus can. He will handle his business. God forgive them, for they do not know what they do. You his child. That's what I said. Even though Jesus asked forgiveness for the people, said forgive them, you already know. You're the son of God. Child, unless they repent, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. They're going to pay. They're going to have to. You pray that they repent, because I don't wish bad stuff on nobody, because God knows I don't want to see you go through it. But bruh, if you're a dick and you ain't going to change, you're going to go through. Okay? I don't care, female dick, male dick, you're going to go through. Get into it. So I have not really interacted. I'm trying to think. I have not seen nor interacted with my mother since then. The last time I think I saw her was her father's funeral, and I mailed that, and I did not speak with her. I'm trying to think. About it. Nope. I hadn't spoken to her since. I have not talked to her on the phone. Nothing to do, because between the hospital situation and the whole thing with the wheel and the truck and just being a dick, I was done. Again, I had not put into context the abuse from the childhood, the behavior, but I had tried to, well, in my mind, I had forgiven and I tried to let go. I hadn't really put into context how foul she was. And it wasn't until I hit about my 40s, and I don't know if that's because, and I feel the Holy Spirit of God showed me, it was like a movie playing back of everything. The conversation that happened on the steps when she talked about the pervy stepfather, the other thing when I hit my period and she made comments coming from what came from the family member to tell me, oh, she accused you of having a relationship with my brother's pervy stepfather, a pervy father. It wasn't clicking. But when it did click, I went through a level of hatred and anger for that woman. And because all of a sudden you realize, how are you a mother and you allow this to happen to your child? My best friend said, your mom shouldn't have had one child, let alone 3. Frances is crazy as hell. She's absolutely right. And I'm sorry for her. So my mother was the child that her mother did not like. My grandmother, her mother, her favorite child was my Aunt Rose. That was her favorite child. Hands down, between all the 3, Aunt Rose was the child of promise. She's the one that she loved. She's the one she doted on. She was everything. It used to piss my mom off because sometimes I would go to my grandfather's place of business, and my grandfather just he had a couple business. So he had the cooler business, but he also ran like a club. And it was just, they didn't do anything but play bingo, Pacino, poker. He had some tables in there, and they had candy, and a bunch of old people smoking cigarettes and just sitting in there at a little house playing, cards and stuff. And that was what he did. And I don't know, he made good money off of it, very good money off of it. And then he had the rental properties. He bought the rental properties between his money he made from being a cooler man to also the club. That's just honesty, point blank. He wasn't even running the club when he got killed. Matter of fact, one of the ex-girlfriends was running the club, and he was going to pick up the rent. He picked up rent every Monday night. So he was going to pick up the rent money because he was too old to run it anymore. He didn't want to run it. So that's when they came in to rob the place, and they shot and killed him. And then there was another lady who had like a heart attack or whatever. They called all the guys who were involved in it. But my biological mother, I realized, she's damaged from how she was raised. She wasn't a favorite child. She was also a molest victim. I think she said after church they were waiting for my grandfather, and she said she was molested. I don't know all the details, and I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry your life sucked. But like I said, oftentimes people who are abusers have themselves been abused. One of the reasons I probably never wanted kids is because I don't have the tolerance for a lot of craziness, but B, the whole desire to have a child was taken away from me by the fact I had to raise two children I didn't gap my legs to have. So while children love me, that was taken away. The whole wanting to raise kids, that whole experience, it was taken away. I'm getting to a point, y'all. Follow the bouncing ball. I'm trying to see. I got sick when I was 29. I think my grandfather died. Hold on, I'm trying to think that he died. I'm trying to remember when he died. I can't remember if he died before or after, but anyway, um, I think I'm gonna say the last time. No, I wasn't working for Sprint, so he died before. He died before age 29, so I think it was age 25 ish. Is when because I think I was at Sprint, and then so he died before. So age 29 was actually the last time I saw her. That was once I had, yeah, that was when I got sick, and that was the last time I saw her. I had nothing further to do with her. Age 29. So by the time I was age 29, we were done. Because that was the final straw for me. I was like, I've tried to deal with you, and every time I deal with you and you're crazy. And every time you're a dick. So that was it for me. And I had addressed it. By the time I was 40, so I'm going to be 55 in June, that is when everything started playing, and I then understood that she was very aware that this male she had married, and like, it's funny because my best friend said, I think he married her to get to you. And the thing was is that I did realize that most of his brothers married women with girl children. And I think if I remember correctly, I can't remember which brother it was, I ran into one of the daughters that was with one of the women that one of the brothers was with, and she said that her mama dang near killed his brother because and they was project ninjas, and because she found out he was trying to molest her, okay, the young girl that I knew as a kid. So my brothers would be, well, not even, they weren't even blood cousins. And she tried, and I was like, whoa. There was something weird about that family. Like I said, the family, upon meeting them, 7 years old, I knew they were weird. So you knew they were weird. And for you to make the comments you made, you already suspected something of an interest that this man had for me as a child. I have no interest in males. I was already having questions about same-sex attractions when I was young. So I have no interest in old boy, okay? And secondly, I'm 9 years old. A 9-year-old can't have a relationship with a grown male. And if a grown male is messing with a 9-year-old, the grown male is at a fault. A grown adult messing with a child, something is wrong with them. I have not seen my mother since age 29, okay? I have not seen her. I have not talked to her. I have not interacted with her. I have nothing to do with her. My one brother who's 9 years from me, when my father died, I was kind enough, again, Shannon trying to do the right thing, to reach out and because you laid down with him and you had me to let her know Monty had passed. They had talked off and on later on because Monty, when he supposedly came into Christianity, he went back to all the women and children. I'm sorry I wasn't a father. I'm sorry I wasn't a man. Blah, 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 blah. And, yada, yada, yada. And that's when he started trying to, as one said, he said, was he going through like the Alcoholic Anonymous, steps to whatever? I said, I don't know. But, we all need to, at least he did what she hasn't. He tried, and whether it was sincere or not, I believe he at least tried to reach, and I think by Monty's standards, he was sincere because he was trying to repent because he was such a dick in his life. And he still was a dick even when he died. But Monty was messed up too in his own way. And I think I got along better with him because at least he tried to do better in the sense of he had his own board demons, but I think he was more sincere about initially wanting to have a relationship and be better. Francis, I don't get that. Okay, she's too prideful and too much of a butthole. God forgive me, and I'm just keeping it 100. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm a person I'm a realist. I'm not the person who wears the rose-colored glasses and says, "Oh no, my mom was great." And I had an associate, she doesn't talk to me anymore because I would tell the truth about Grumpy. And she felt it was disrespectful. I was like, why? And later on, I found out she also had come up in a household with an abusive stepfather. And to me, your mother put you in that situation. I'm not trying to say you to hate your mom, but your mom needs to own up. And I love you, know you love your mama, but your mama put her child in that situation and knowing this dude was a butthole. And again, I don't know what caused her mom to do that. There was a lot of women with low self-esteem. Like I said, Monty went for fat women because he knew he could get women who didn't have any self-esteem or pride, and those women would tolerate his game. My mother was one of many, okay? So I notified her he had died. I also had tried to notify her and I let her know that a cousin had died, and I sent it through one of my brothers, and then I also sent it through my aunt. Now, this is her sister. Love my aunt. I still love her even though she got butthole tendencies too. My aunt comes back, well, Shannon, I'm sick of this with you and your mama. You need to forgive your mama if you call yourself a so-called Christian. Pump the brakes, pump the brakes, pump the brakes. I got angry, but then I had to come back to myself because I realized a person who uses that terminology, usually you got issues in your Christian walk, okay? Because you don't understand the definition of forgiveness, and you don't understand your Christianity, and you don't understand Christ. So here's how I'm going to help y'all. I'm going to help y'all. When you forgive a person, and this is a saying I have, I need to put on a t-shirt. Forgiveness does not mean sitting yourself in the seat of abuse. Forgiveness means you need to get free. You need to forgive those individuals, just like Christ did on that cross. But it does not mean you have to interact. Christ dealt with the Pharisees, Sadducees, and all them fools that didn't want to deal with him because they were jealous and they wanted to be the center of attention. He dealt with them by not dealing with them or addressing them, checking them, and walking on and keeping it pushing. And they were jealous and they were pissed off and they lied on them and did all the stuff, craziness like what my mother did, because with different stuff they do to be buttholes. That's just who they are. Because that's who they are. When he dealt with them, if y'all know the word, read every time he had interactions with them freaking Pharisees and Sadducees. He would either try to avoid them or they would show up and start mess. And he would check them, keep pushing. Christ was very, 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 very sarcastic. If you read the Bible, sometimes I'll be reading and go, ooh, wee, Jesus, and start laughing. Because he would check ninjas, right? He'd be checking them left and right. He's checking them. Oh, you're a scribe and you don't know this. You're a Pharisee and you don't know this. You're supposed to be this religious leader and you don't know that. Check, 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 check. Oh, we want you to do tricks, like tricks are for kids when they ask them to do signs and wonders. Dude, he healing people. Blind folks are seeing. Come on now. He feeding folks. He making wine. He's doing miracles. The Bible said he did so many miracles that the books can't even contain all the stuff that he did, okay? And you want him to do tricks for kids. So he check them again. A perverse and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and they will find none. Why? Because they want you to do tricks. They're not looking for signs. They want to stay in their butthole behavior. They just come in with drama. And when you have people that want to stay in their butthole behavior, they look for signs and they ain't going to find none. I'm not going to give you what you want. I'm going to do what I'm called to do. Okay? I'm going here for a reason. I then end up in a very kind and professional and respectful way checking my aunt. And I came up on a video, which I said I'll post it in the community page after we're done with this video. A lady named B Mac writes. And it was so weird because the video showed up right around the time of this whole interaction with my aunt. I got gnats, y'all. Oh, I hate gnats. It shows up right around the time of this interaction with my aunt. Y'all. God is good. My aunt comes out the side of her neck. And she gonna tell me, if you a so-called Christian. And then I had to check her. I said, first of all, I've forgiven your sister. And I've tried to interact with her on numerous occasions. But every time I interact with this woman, she is vicious and she's vindictive. And I'm done. I have no more I'm going to do with this. I'm going to help you, those of you. And I want y'all to hear me. And I'm sorry if it's your mama. I'm sorry if it's your dad. I'm sorry if it's your sister. I'm sorry if it's your brother. I'm sorry if it's your child. I'm sorry for whoever you are blood related to that may be acting a plumb fool with you, who have done vicious and malicious things to you. Please forgive them. And I am not telling you not to. You are required biblically to forgive them and sincerely forgive them. If you had a husband who beat you, whatever, whoever did what to you, you must forgive. But it does not mean that you open that door and let that ninja back in, move them back in the house for them to beat you some more because you trying to be Christian by what you think or somebody tells you Christianity is, because that is not Christian. That's being a fool. Point blank, period. Forgive them, for they do not know what they do, and throw them the peace sign and keep it pushing. Because the Bible even talks about entertaining wickedness. And some of us have wicked and vindictive and jealous and malicious people in our family bloodlines. Do not entertain them. Throw them ninjas the peace sign. Do not entertain foolishness. Forgiveness does not mean sitting yourself in a seat of abuse. It does not mean continuing in the madness. Move on. When I post this video, and I can't even put the way she did it, B Mac writes, it was so poetic. And it was funny, I found it, I sent it to my aunt in response to this little comment that she made. But the comment that she made told me, I ain't going to ask you nothing else. I was trying to be kind and notify your sister about people she knew from my other family line. They are deceased. They had interactions. They knew each other. I'm not going to interact with her. I'm not talking to her. And you're not going to force that interaction. You're not. And you sitting here and attacking my Christianity already tells me the level of your Christianity. And it also tells me, while you are a very well world-educated instructor, teacher, your education on the word is not there. 0. I got you. Okay? Love this aunt dearly. She's been, like I said, she was my favorite aunt. She's actually my aunt and my uncle, my mother's brother and sister are my godparents. Love my aunt. My uncle, he gets the peace sign. If I wasn't Christian, he'd get the middle finger. But because that ninja right there, we really done. Because I was done at that. When he talked to me crazy, I was like, okay. We were done. You don't even know me. He named his daughter, one of his daughters, talking about, you my favorite niece. My ninja, how am I your favorite niece? Ninja, I'm your only niece. And you don't know me. He named his daughter, she gave her the exact same name. And I'm going to be honest, I really think he did that thinking it was a way for her to get the money. I think that if he would have had a way to manipulate the system, then with Shannon Lewis is it. But see, my signature is on the stuff. You can't play it that way. I could be wrong, but I just find it really weird that you named your child exactly the same name as me. So he has a daughter with my exact name. First, I think first, middle, and last, or first and last. My exact name. Back to it. At this point, I hadn't dealt with my aunt. I haven't dealt with my mom. And B. Mac writes, she said, you got people, and I'm summing it up, that basically have done things to you wrong, have done you wrong, and they owe you an apology. They need to basically repent of what they've done, but they refuse to. You are required to forgive because that's the requirement God has for you. The forgiveness is for you. It's if they want to accept it and change, wonderful. You don't have to tell them forgive. God didn't say, Johnny, who lied on me, he said, God, forgive them, for they do not know what they do. He asked the Lord to forgive them because our God the Father, forgive them, for they don't know what they do. I don't need to go to my mom and say, I forgive you. I don't need to do that. I don't need to go to Monty and say, I forgive you. I don't need to do that. I can say, God, forgive both of those because these people did not know what they were doing. The word of God says that if you allow things to happen to children, it's better that a millstone be tied around your neck. Okay? God bless them. I hope both of them. I don't wish hell on nobody. I honestly don't. Not the worst person in the world do I wish hell on. Because hell ain't nowhere anybody. It wasn't made for mankind anyway. It was made for the devil. But there are going to be people that are going to bust hell wide open if they don't start getting this crap working. Because you let and like she said, these people will never come to you and apologize for the wrong that they caused you. They won't because they've let their pride get in the way and they don't want to admit their faults. Because if you admit your faults, you have to deal with who you are. And a lot of people don't want to look in the mirror and deal with their stuff. So that's the problem, is that these people who are wicked and victimizers and buttholes, I don't want to look in the mirror and deal with me. I'm honest. I know I'm fat. I know that I need to lose weight one of two ways. I'm going to have to get a surgery and I'm going to have to change my diet. Or I'm going to have to work out and change my diet. I'm real. I know the steps that I need to take. I know what the steps are. When you real about your stuff, you know what the steps are. And if you want to change, you're going to take the steps to do it. If it becomes a stronghold for me, which is my weight, you might not. But when you do wickedness to somebody, or you a wicked person, and you want to stay in your wickedness, you're not going to change. You're going to keep being a dick. I hate to say it, that was kind of Monty's issue. God bless him. I hope he got it right. I don't know if he did or didn't. We'll know on the other side of glory. I hope I get it right. The thing that is different from me, from the other children, I know my stuff. I'm honest about the generational curses on both sides of my family. And because of that, I believe, and I'm not going to say I sin just like anybody else. Everybody got sin. Nobody is sin less. But I'm aware of the generational curses that are in my family line. And I thank God for his hand on my life. Because like I told a couple of friends, even Linda, my brother who's in prison, Monty's other son, Texas Most Wanted, murder and armed robbery, if I let that other Shannon out her kennel, I could put that ninja to shame. I would be a piece of work. And when I saw it, that's why when I met Monty's people, I was like, ooh. Look, this is when you come home and you say, Father, I thank you. I thank you for your hand on my life. I thank you that you have watched me. Because I've done some things, don't get me wrong. I beat some folks behinds back in the day. And honestly, I probably should have been in handcuffs. I could tell y'all a story. I'm not going to go there. And there was so much rage and anger. I'll be honest, I scared me. When you, it's like you scare you, like, who is that? I didn't even know me. I scared me. Once you realize what you come from, you should want to do better. It's like me and Linda was talking about. She said her mama used to say, if you know better, you do better. That's not quite true. Plenty of people know better and don't do better. Plenty of people do. My point is, you may know better, but you have to want to change. My mother knows that she's foul. My mother, and I'm sure she does. But to go in there and start dealing with your stuff is a man in the mirror moment, and a lot of people don't want to do it. My buddy right now, his sister is ratchet, and he's got issues in his family, all in his family on a lot of different levels. In the same minute, he'll tell you how ratchet all the stuff is with his sister, and then 2 minutes later, he goes, "My poor sister." It's like he lives in this delusion, and I'll be sitting up there like this. What the hell? Why don't you see it? Why don't you see it? Okay? I ain't done. It's going to be a long video, but that's okay. You have people who, like the Greeleys, I reached out to my two brothers. I told them everything. I told them about their Chester the molester father. I told them about my biological mother. I also sent it to her sister. Okay? I sent it to a couple of friends. My best friend knew. I sent it. I laid my laundry out to some folks, and I told them I was in my 40s. I said, God is showing me you need to know, because if either of you have children, which my younger brother, one of the ones he has 2 kids, I understand the innate need to get to know your biological father. But your biological father's people and your father are pervy and they're weird. Something about that family is not right. And what I did note was that all of the males typically got with females who had children already, and girl children especially. And I believe there's a thing of molest and whatever other incest or rape in that family. Not to mention, they had known drug issues in that family. Okay? Weird. I've told you this. Now, you would think my brothers would reach out to me and say, Shannon, I'm really sorry that happened to you. Neither one of them. Like it didn't happen. Well, I guess I'm pulling out the crack of my behind. And I'm kind enough to warn you so that you can be careful about, if you get that desire to go reach out to this crazy behind man, taking your children over there. Because my brother Anthony has a girl child. And you don't know what other kind of pervies they might be. They might mess with the boy too. You don't know. Leave them crazy Negroes alone. Your father left, he didn't look back. And he's crazy. Leave them alone. Stay away from them and keep your kids away from them. Something ain't right with them. Okay? And prayerfully, that generational curse does not pass down to you. Okay? So, coming to current day, when I refer to my mother, I refer to her as my biological mother, because she was never a mom to me. Honestly, even when I was a little girl, she was never a mom. There are parts of my childhood I don't even remember. And it wasn't until one of the mothers of the church, we were talking about something after a Bible study when I was back, and everybody was talking about areas of the childhood at a certain age that I should remember. And when she said, "Well, Shannon, what did you?" I said, "I have no idea." She said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I don't remember that." She said, "Wait a minute, say that again." I said, "I don't remember." And she looked, her eyes squinted, she leaned in. She said, "Baby, you got some massive childhood traumas. Because if you can't remember this age range," I got gnats. She said, "That tells me there were traumas that happened to you. So something major happened to you that was a childhood trauma, which is why you don't remember X, Y, and Z." I didn't know. Again, guys, I didn't know. And I told Linda, I said, sometimes you grow up in a household and what is abnormal becomes your normal. So people who grew up in crazy, that's why you see people, you got families, like a friend of mine, she married a dude and he smokes weed. He smoked weed. His mama busted out a joint when she first met him. I was like, that to me is not normal. And so they were the type of family that sat on the porch and smoked weed and shared it with each other. That's not normal. That's weird. Okay? But there's families that's their normal. That's their normal. Families when you have hoarders and because that's their normal. That dysfunction is functional normal to them and it's jacked. And even if they see different, which is what I told Linda, people can see different, don't mean they're going to do different. because some people don't want to operate outside of the normal. That was what Monty's problem was with his sexual addiction. When Monty could no longer lay on a woman, he just laid in that chair till he got to the casket, because even though you may ask for deliverance, you don't want to walk in it. Now I want my sin back. Now that I can't operate in it, God, because I got delivered from it, I want it back because that is my normal. I don't want to operate outside of it. When you are dealing with these kind of people, they're going to stay in their wickedness. Do not entertain them. If they don't want to get freedom, if they want to still be buttholes to the casket, they're going to have to deal with Jesus. You need to say, Lord, forgive them, for they don't know what they did. And honestly, some of them do, but some of them, they don't. Some people, I believe, they just walk. I have a friend of mine, he walks in total oblivion to stuff in his family. Total oblivion. And there's issues even with him, with generational curse stuff and things that I see with him. Total oblivion. And I'll be sitting there like this. What the heck? So God had to show me something. And for those of you who are my Christian folks, and those of you who ain't, if you want to go look it up, you can. There's a scripture where Jesus is asking the disciples, but especially Peter, who do you say that I am? And Peter said, you're the Son of God, you're the Christ, you're the Messiah, so forth. And Jesus says, flesh and blood has not shown you this, but my Father in heaven. What I have realized is there are people that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the demons that got on board, I don't know what that is. But for whatever reason, they walk in a fog and they can't see nothing beyond the scope of whatever the madness is they're in. But the other problem is the people around them. So you may have people in the family line, like this girl's grandmother and like Lynn Whitfield at the table, who fully realize that old boy over here is a butthole, but whatever demons they got on board want you to come sit down at the dinner room table with the victimizer who has never apologized to you, who has no intent of changing, who's going to continue to be a dick to you. And if they could continue either raping you or beating you or downtrodden you or cracking their butt cheeks on you, that is what they're going to do. They have zero intent to change. They're going to stay in the same way. So therefore, do not let the abusive husband back in the house to keep beating you. That could represent your crazy mama, crazy daddy, crazy siblings, crazy relative, crazy friend, whoever it is that's in your life. Don't let them in that door. And you're going to be all right. It's okay if it's just you and Jesus. I don't have no family help. When I hit hard times, it was 4 friends that helped me. Yeah, 4 friends that stepped in for me financially. That was my help. When I got sick, like I said, I wasn't there 2 days. My friends, 2 friends came and got me. We packed up my little stuff, and I didn't have enough just, to stay there and get well. We packed up my blankets, my pillows, my toiletries, and they took me back to my crib. And it was a friend from work, an older lady from my job. We walked with my walker till I got well. There was a nurse that came in and checked on me until I started walking again. And luckily enough, my friend Anthony that my mother wanted to interview and all the other people come in, he had been a CNA, so he stayed with me while he was on vacation to help me. When Monty wouldn't drive me to the doctor and her behind gonna act the fool at the house. God will provide through other people. And that's what I'm going to tell you. Sometimes people are trying to stay tied to crazy behind family because you blood related. In reality, we're all related. We stem off of Adam and Eve. Okay, we're all related. I don't care what your color of your skin is. Adam and Eve are the original foreparents. So we all stem. The languages and thank you, Mandisa. The languages and the color of skin, that all happened with the Tower of Babel. So we all are from the same overall family line. The other thing I share with you, because I get people that are really caught up in family and they put up with a lot of family drama. A lot. I want you to go back to an Old Testament story of a man named Abraham. And when God called Abraham, I want y'all to hear what God said to him. I got these things I want to do with your life, Abraham. I need you to pick up, wait for it, and leave your family. Abraham, in my opinion, wasn't quite obedient because he took a little known person known as him as Lot. I can't remember if that's his nephew, cousin, I think it was a nephew. And Lot's crazy behind ended up in a city called Sodom and Gomorrah. If y'all don't remember that story, go research it. God gave him the command, leave your family. And I find that family brings more drama sometimes than, when I'm going to say strangers, but folks who are friends who ain't blood related to you. They bring more madness, and they think they can get away with it because they blood related to you. Child, bye. Get your peace instead of being in the madness. So my brother Chris is graduating with his doctorate. His wife and him kind enough to give me an invitation. I already know, since this is my mother, one of her sons, she is most likely going to be there. My goal was to drop off an envelope, give him his gift, and bounce. I'm not staying there. And the closer it came to this, which is going to be next weekend, the more I was saying to myself, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Other family members might show up. I'm like, I'm good. And the more I thought about it, I started having anxiety. And so I told Joe, I said, Joe, I said, can you drive me there? Because my car isn't going to make it. I said, I'm not going to be intimidated where I'm not going to show. I'm not going to the house. I said, but I'm going to show well enough to give him his gift. And the more I thought about it, I've already sent a gift card, but the next gift is a bottle of wine and the card, which I already have. We're going to deliver that next weekend. I'm not going to deliver it because the sister-in-law, his wife, which I think she's very nice, she's going to be like, oh, are you coming to the ceremony? Well, I didn't initially know I was invited to the ASU ceremony, which I'm not going to. I don't want to sit there during graduations. To me, I can't. But I also don't want to be tied up with that family. So I said, no, sweetheart, Joe's driving me, which is true. And Joe has a Down syndrome brother. I don't want to tie him up for his day. He's going to take the time out. We're going to come to the ceremony, to the gathering afterwards, and we'll be there for a minute, and then we're going to, drop off the gift. Oh, if you're worried about, a ride, me and Chris can make arrangements for, to get you, and you can come and you can be here as long as you want. Oh no, my ninja. You're not having me tied up in the house with Cray Cray. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No to hell, ma'am. I'm I'm not gonna be messing with that chick. Because the other Shannon, you won't lay hands on now. I'm grown. You talk to me crazy now. I don't want to open up the kennel because, like I said, there's a whole nother person, and I don't need you to trigger that person that God has put in a casket and let this person come to the surface. You want to deal with this Shannon. You don't want to deal with the other one. You do not. That's the Monty side, Shannon. You do not want to deal with her because I know who that chick is, and that chick is cuckoo. Like I said, generational curses. I'm letting the dead man be dead. Don't try to raise something up. So don't put me in a situation where you raise things up. This is why I'm telling for whoever this is for. Sometimes you put yourself in a seat of abuse thinking you're forgiving. Monty used to have a saying about feeding people with a long-handled spoon. I had to do that with him on certain things. But with my biological mother, there's no spoon. There's no feeding with a long-handled spoon. It's just, I'm not going to deal with you. We're done. Every time I deal with you is cracking butt cheek and taking a good dump on me. It was physical, mental, emotional abuse. And then to find out you were very aware that your husband was a perv and had attractions and was doing stuff outside the order, and you did nothing. You never came to your child. Something's wrong with you. And I'm sorry for you. You're crazy. You're messed up. You're damaged from what happened to you at your house. I'm very sorry. I feel sorry for you. But guess what? If I can be honest about my stuff, so can you. So either you like your own board demons, some people do, and you want to stay in your pride, like this lady said, and you don't ever want an apology, that's cool. I forgive you. And I'm going to tell you, whoever it is in your life, forgive them. But don't sit yourself in a seat of abuse. And a lot of people do this. Last story. Oh, let me finish this. So the sister-in-law came back again. I told you once, I'm not coming. I did it nice. So the second time she goes, oh, she says, also, if you want to come by, we can make that happen. And blah, blah, blah. So basically what we want you to do is get over it. Get over all the stuff that this crazy A woman did and show up and be here because we want to be here and we want to have no. You're no different than the Lynn Whitfield in that movie where you have your daughter and your granddaughter sitting at the table with the Chester the molester who raped and molested your daughter, one daughter to where she killed herself, and the other one I think is sitting at the table, and now he got his eyes on your granddaughter, plus y'all paying off a woman at the church who he done met. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Or we go back to Precious. And no, no. Now the daughter got AIDS from the man who's tying her to the bed and raping her, and you know your daughter's being raped by this man in order to keep, and I'm using man loosely, this grown male, in order to keep a piece of dick in your house. I cannot. I cannot. So I tell the sister-in-law, because she pushing the envelope again, and I said, look, I said, I'm not staying there, and I'm not going to be there, and I don't really want to see any of them. Actually, all of them have issues. All of them are nasty. Even my aunt, when I reached out to her and I was very sick, and I told her she was the only relative that I always liked. When I was sick, and I told her, hey, I'm getting ready to go under the knife. I'm having surgery, and I wanted somebody in my family to know. What do you think is going to happen to you, Shannon? Just nasty. I was like, thank you, Aunt Rose. Have a good day. Click. And I realized that my friend Cubby, my friend Anthony, and whoever was here, that was the people that were going to help me, and that God was going to make a way. And my aunt could be, I like her, but she can be a piece of work. Because I think, if I remember correctly, my mother repeated that when my grandmother died and they found out my uncle was adopted, she basically told him he was dropped off by the milkman at the back door and he didn't have a say in something. I was like, well, damn, that's nasty. That was my aunt, my favorite aunt. I had no idea. And she's been through her own level of abuses, which part of what she's been through is also really to humble her and to grow her. But we can choose to listen to the growth, or we can continue in our own foolishness and we can be in the damages, but we got to deal with our stuff. And the problem is, most people don't want to have a man in the mirror moment with Jesus and deal with your stuff. So, like Peter, when he said, flesh and blood hasn't told you, God has to show you, and you got to be willing. And that's really where most people don't get it, and they stay in their delusion because they don't want to deal with the reality of their stuff. It's like Adam and Eve in the garden. They sewed fig leaves to cover up for their mess because they didn't want to deal with their stuff. And they thought that covering it up, God couldn't see. No, sweetie, he knows all. He sees all. He's everywhere. All knowing, all powerful, everywhere. What can you hide from him? Not nothing. So you just need to be upfront. So I'm very real. And when I reached out to God, I said, every generational curse over my life, please break. Everyone. And to break those generational curses, he has to show you you. And you are a culmination of the madness that you may have inherited, sin from your birth that translates through the family line and being born into this world, which stems from Adam and Eve, this translates. So I get it. That's why you have to say forgive them, because some people are blind by their sin. They're blind by their issues, and they don't want to change because it's too much to change. When Monty was praying for deliverance from his sexual addiction, he got prostate cancer. The PP didn't work anymore for that. And at this point, now he's mad, sitting in his chair. I ain't gonna do nothing because I can't lay on a woman. Because you asked for deliverance, which you needed, but now you don't want to walk in the deliverance. Because walking in the deliverance requires work, and it requires wanting to change. But sometimes we don't want to change. This goes to the self-will and being outside of God's will. And I ain't going to say we're going to be perfect. It's overweight. It's not perfect, but it's being aware of your issues. Paul said, look, Lord, I got this thorn in my flesh, this angel of Satan sent to buffet me. Can you get rid of it for me? God said, no, that's still going to stay with you because I need you to stay humble. So you can sit here and put yourself in a position where you deal with wickedness when God tells you not to deal with them, even in your family line. Or you can choose to say, you know what? You decided you're going to stay in your madness. I love you in the Lord, and I'm going to ask God to forgive you, but I can't deal with you no more. And that's where I'm at with my biological mother and most of my family, even Monty's other children. I can't deal with you anymore. The more I sat and marinated, I was getting madder and madder by the moment. I'm like, why am I mad? About the only ones I really like is my brother's, his nieces, my nieces that I met because they just seem sweet. I don't know them where I'm close to see anything ratchet, but at least what I got was some respectful young ladies, very sweet. And one of them just came up, gave me a big old bear hug the first time she met me. That's the one he's in prison. And I know I can see in some of them the generational curses, but I also will pray for them because honestly, you have to understand it. But my problem is, I've told you guys, all of you, my brother's wife, I'm pretty sure she's aware of the issues between me and Frances. That's my mother, my biological mother. Yet you want me to come to a graduation. You want me to sit in this house with this crazy behind woman who, and I told you more than once, and I told you the second time, I'm not coming to that. I said, first of all, there's too much water under the bridge with me and Frances. She has never apologized for any of it. And at this point, I'm done. I said, I'm done with her spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. The woman is horrid. Now, how she interacts with you, my mom, if you met Monty, you met Frances, y'all love them. They could put on a show. My best friend Jane, she said, my father first met you, but he picked it up. He's like, something's not right with her mama. And when he later found out, he said, I told you something. He said, Jane, I've been doing this for Janie. I've known this for years. He said, I've been doing kids for years. You know what I do? I know. He said, Shannon's a good kid, but her mama crazy as a box of rocks. This man is a child protective service person, juvenile detention. So he dealt with abusive. He knew it a mile away. But then you got those people who they may not be the abusive people, but they want you to come sit at the table with the victimizer, as if the victim, you supposed to sit there and hold your damn tongue, not say anything, and the demon and victimizer sitting across the table like life is great to them. And they done crapped on you, beat you down, done all sorts of vicious and malicious stuff with no apologies. And you supposed to? Child, bye. Child, bye. It's not hatred, it's wisdom. And what's going on with these other people that want to act like, I guess, your being a victim doesn't matter? Child, bye. 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 You sitting up here buddy and thinking you just get over it. So I'm going to keep, and it's nice for you to invite me, but then leave it alone. Because that's to me, that would be, it was kind to invite. You send a gift, do whatever, but already know the dynamics. So when the person says, no, I'm not going to do this and that, you know the dynamics and should know the underlying reasons why. And I laid it out. And again, Shannon, I understand there's some friction with you and your mom. I am so sorry, XYZ. No. Because we want you to sit there and put up with her crap. No. Or we just don't believe you, or we don't want to believe, and they know it's real. Nobody makes that up. I would have to be extremely crazy as hell to make all of that up, okay? And I'm not. My aunt replied back when she made a little comment. She goes, I know your mom can be vicious. I grew up with her. Right. So what you saying to me, you crazy as hell, telling me I'm supposed to do XYZ. And this is your definition, because this is the immature Christian thought, that Christianity requires that because I forgive, I sit myself in a seat of abuse. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Don't invite that man back in your house who's beating you. I was just watching, what's that? Equalizer with Queen Latifah. And they did one on a husband that was beating a wife. And she kept letting him back, and then he almost killed her. Don't let them back in the house. Last quick story. This is one of my true story. My play niece Vicky, her sister, was raised up by her mom. Her mom married this man. The man was molesting, and I'm gonna be honest, he was raping her. It got to rape. She told an aunt. The aunt told the mom, and they moved out of the house from this man and moved in with the family, there with her family. The mother later, I don't know how long it was, went back to this man, and then proceeded to bring her daughter back in the house where this man continued to rape her on a continuous basis, locking padlocks while he raped her, showed her pornography videos. She's now a stripper, okay? I don't know what else she does. When she confronted her mother, why did you go back to this man? Why are you with him? This is what her mama said. Well, God has forgiven him. You do too. You need to forgive him also. Now, I'm not saying she's not to forgive, but that doesn't justify why you took your child back in to this relationship. What your daughter is asking you is, why didn't you defend me? And what's wrong with you? But the other issue, and I understand the need for children to have parents, is you really need to do this with your mother because your mother is extra foul. She took you back into a situation where she knew Precious Moment, the movie Precious, this man was raping you and screwing her at the same time, but you were what he got off on. I will tell you, I think he's in Atlanta somewhere. I will tell you, I think the Atlanta PD had got in touch with her because she did a Facebook video exposing him. And because it's been, I think, past the time or whatever, they can't really go after him. But he is working in a church. I can tell you that. I don't know if he's a minister, pastor. I don't know. He's working in a church. And I don't know I hope they're still watching him because I can't. I can't. But when her mother's reply to me would have been, you know what? I know you're my only mom, but I can't do nothing. I can't have nothing to do with you. Because her mother put her in that situation. And there's people who do that. My friend, my buddy, I had a dream about his nephew becoming violent. And I warned him. I had a dream 3 or 4 days before the violence happened. I said, you're appearing in a dream to me. But he had taken on foster, and then the state asked him to adopt 2 great nephews. One of them had some major issues. I said, I see violence happening, and I see you're either going to defend your mother or your Down syndrome brother because this nephew is going to become violent. Sure enough, I don't even think it was 3 days later, he gave me a phone call. The nephew got mad because he punished him about a cell phone. Came running down the hallway to beat him up, going to fight his uncle. Sees the knives in the kitchen, pulls a knife and goes to stab my friend. My friend falls back, blocking his mama. His other crazy brother who lived there puts his hand in, grabs a knife. The knife slices him 14 stitches. And I think later also had to have nerve damage done to the hand. Do you know my friend went and visited this boy in juvenile detention every day and brought him back into the house? I won't even go through the other laundry list of stuff that this little boy has done, okay? I mean, some stuff that could have really messed my friend's life up. Foul. Punching the cars, all sorts of craziness. My heart goes out to the little boy because it's obviously the little boy's crazy. And I think he was also a molest victim from his crazy mama who's into a lot of stuff, one of her boyfriends. And which is probably why he has some acting out issues. But unfortunately, you can't come back to this house because you need psychological assistance. My friend is too old for that. And you need to be in a family, you need to be in a home that will provide you the psychological, mental assistance that you need. And you can't be in this house because you're too dangerous. Because there's a Down syndrome brother, and at the time, his mother's not alive anymore, a mother who is elderly. I don't know what this is. And it's something that is mind-blowing. The only thing I can call it is a demon. I think it's demonic. When you have not only the victimizer, but the people, their support system of family that allows the madness and the craziness in the family line like it's normal. And they want you to sit there in the midst of the craziness of an abuser and act as if everything's okay, and then don't seem to have any compassion, empathy for what you went through, and expect you, I guess, just to sweep it under the rug and go, okay, but that's what a lot of families do. And it festers, and if you put a Band-Aid over a dirty cut, it becomes gangrene. Well, I'm not going to let it fester here because I'm not going to let it in. I've ripped the Band-Aid off. We've washed it out with the Holy Spirit of God. And I'm going to have peace in my Middle East without dealing with you and your madness. So to those of you, and whoever this is for, who has family, who cannot respectfully treat you and respect you decently and not be like this girl who took this young girl, my play niece's sister, half sister, who took her back into the family, to this home with this Chester the molester rapist. So basically, I'm going to bring what you really want back in the house so you and I can still be together. And I'm going to put my daughter at risk and let you continue to have sex with this child to where my daughter is now a stripper and probably ain't rap right. The girl is so broken, because she herself don't know how to get freedom. But you guys want freedom? You need to talk to Jesus, one. And two, you need to go ahead and throw those victimizers, throw them the peace sign. Because if they can't come back to you, apologize sincerely and start showing you some differences. Monty showed me a little bit. That's why I was able to interact with him. But Monty was so jacked up and entrenched in his own generational curses. He could only do so much. After I met the extended family, I had more compassion for him than ever, because I realized, wow, you had some heavily duty entrenched demons. Heavy. But God taught lessons. I don't like to drive. And I drove him to his doctor's appointment. And when he got back to Texas after almost dying out here, and he had cancer, somebody had to drive him. Because God teaches lessons in ways, y'all. He's an amazing God. Like I said, be careful. And all you need to do is do exactly what Jesus. Forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. I forgive my mom because she has no idea what she's doing. Because the Bible tells me when you do things to children, it would be better that a millstone be put around your neck. That means that what the punishment is if you don't repent, baby. And if you don't know what Linda asked, what's a millstone? I said, in the olden days, they throw the wheat down there. They put this big old stone and they push it. A stone heavy as hell. And it would grind the wheat up. And she go, I know what you're talking about. I said, imagine putting that around somebody's neck. That's a hell of a comment. That's why I said Jesus was no joke. That brother was funny. Lord, God bless him. And God bless the Son of God and God in the flesh. Because Jesus wasn't no joke. And I pray, and I always pray, Lord, let me not be vengeful. And if I have bitterness, please help me work on that. Because I don't like my mother. She's crazy. I don't like who she is as a person. But I do ask for forgiveness because I realize she's jacked up and crazy because she went through her own level of abuses in her childhood and craziness. And she's got some mental brokenness because she was treated as a second-class citizen. My aunt was the favorite child. But don't think that because that person that was maybe treated better than you was better, they just as foul and jacked up as you, because now they have expectations that are unrealistic. And when those expectations come crashing to the ground, they got to deal with that mentally. So don't think that, if you're in a situation where one sibling was favored over you, that's not even better. It's not. My two brothers, they don't realize they damaged. You grew up in the madness of the household. Both of y'all damaged. I don't care. God bless you with the degrees, but they damaged. We grew up in madness. We grew up in craziness. I hate to say it, and my brother, the one who was married, his wife reminded me of my mother, Frances, on a different level. So a lot of people would think, no, I think she had a sharp tongue, very sarcastic, pop off. Frances could be like that. And very much, I'm going to do what I want to do kind of mindset. I'm right. Okay. The only good part was, to me, now she's over on the opposite end. The kids are perfect. Her kids are perfect. I get that from her. And I'm not saying kids are, but she pushes that. And I have an issue with that because you end up with Monties. So when I share this with you guys, forgiveness does not mean sitting yourself in a seat of abuse. And I know some of you may love your mothers, your fathers, and all that, but it does not mean do the right thing as best you can, but don't do the right thing to where it's a detriment to your personal mentality, your personal peace, your personal spirit. Let God, sometimes you got to throw this. I'm going to leave you in God's hands, regardless of blood, no blood, and walk away. And leave them in God's hands. You don't have to be around mom and daddy. God, like he told Abraham, Abraham, I got stuff for you to do. Leave your family. Leave them crazy. And the reason I really think when I look back over that, God wanted Abraham's focus to be on him instead of all the family madness and minutia and craziness. I want you to focus on our relationship and what I want to do with your life because I got plans. Because Jesus comes from the line of Abraham. But I got plans for what I'm going to do with your life. So in order to do that without distraction, you need to let this family stuff go because family, I just find a lot of times in family, it's a lot of madness. And I've met families that are prestigious, who are very well off, and they're more family than what I had. But best believe me, every family got generational curses. Maybe it's infidelity in a family line. I'm just saying. Every family got issues. Some are worse than others. Mine on both sides are ratchet. If you come in from ratchetness, you got a parent like that. I'm not trying to say that if you have a speaking relationship, I was able to interact with Monty. Monty was a dick. He was a compulsive liar and he was a dick. Point blank, period. However, I sincerely think Monty wanted to do better, but he was sincerely so jacked up and so self-centered from how he was reared, he couldn't get past himself. And that's where some people have strongholds in their life. That's why Monty's dead. Well, it was his time, but the way he went was because I don't want to. I'm not taking my medicine anymore. I don't want to. So in essence, he committed suicide by stopping taking life-critical medicine. Because I don't want to. I want it my way. And since I can't have it my way, I'm mad. A grown child. You'll get it or you will get it. So if you somebody dealing with crazy family, all I'm going to tell you right now, get your peace. I don't care who it is. Whoever's distracting you, whoever the crazy person is, forgive them does not mean move them in. Forgive them don't mean you got to sit at dinner with them. Forgive them don't mean you even got to talk to them. Lord, forgive them for they don't know what they do. And move the hell on. And have peace in your Middle East. And put your trust in God because I'm going to tell you from what I've been through, He will provide. He will provide. I owe money. I owe money to people. Big money, not cheap chump change. Folks help me pay this rent for a couple of months. They help me with other bills for a couple of months. None of them are pestering me. You owe me. I'm making payments to get that paid back. But not one family member stepped in. I ain't got no family member. This car out here is just a piece of car. Them crazy kids in Texas. Well, he had issue with. Okay, well, here's the key. Sell the car, split the proceeds 5 ways. I ain't heard from not this little boy at all. And I knew it wasn't. But that's okay. It's going to be between you and the Lord. I forgive you. Next. And for your sister to fix her mouth and tell me that instead of say, you know what, I'm going to talk to him because you need a car and we all got cars. Boss up. Be a female. Be a woman. Because that's what I would have done. If I would have had a car and they would have said, okay, she didn't have a car. I would say, you know what, guys? First of all, so-and-so don't have a car in the family. I got a car, you got a car. She going to take daddy's car because she need one. No. Mm-mm. Here you go. You sell the car. It's okay because God don't like ugly and it all comes back around. Here you go. Go ahead and sell that. Let's see if you really do what you say you're going to do. I ain't heard hiding the hair from that nigga. Excuse my French. I'm keeping 100. And that's okay. And I said split it 5 ways because we got the brother in prison. I would put it on his books. Okay. Do you, boo-boo. Do you. And I realized, though, it's part of the generational curse. And after I met them and understood, I want nothing to do. I'm done. There's a point where you get tired of people crapping on you. And you can turn cheek, you give the other cheek. But after a while, you ain't got no more cheeks to give. So you got to do this. And keep rolling. Again, don't mean I hate you. It just means I'm done dealing with you. I'm done with the foolishness. Anyway, y'all, it's been a while, but I wanted to tell this story, and I pray, and then whoever gets this later on, if you decide to sit here and read it, I pray that this it makes you who might have this issue, and whoever this is for, it makes you understand how to stand in these situations. I'm not going in that house. Matter of fact, Joe gonna go to the front door and hand the envelope and say, he's like, well, I said, he ain't gonna remember you. It's been too long. I said, go to the door, or if we see somebody going in the house, we're gonna hand them the bottle, hand them a couple of cards, say, give this to Holly or Chris, or Heidi and Chris, and call it a day. And we're gonna roll on down the street, and me and Joe gonna have lunch. We're gonna see my play niece and her mom and her brother, and then we're gonna go have lunch and chill out. We might go get Linda, and we're gonna kick it. I'm done. I'm proud of him. Even though I'm not probably giving any credit for the early part of his childhood in which his mother was not a mother and she trying to claim everything, I raised those boys. My mother didn't raise them. She came in after they could cook and clean for themselves. Negro next. But that's okay. Baby girl is forgiven. You're crazy. And I'm sorry you're crazy. And I realize you're crazy because crazy stuff happened to you. And I'm sorry you're broken. But there's a point that if you're not able to look in the mirror and deal with your stuff, own up and man up, this is where I do give Monty some credit. Granted, he still has stuff to work on, but I do believe he was sincere. You don't go and reach out to all those people and do that just to waste your time. He didn't have to. He could be a dick. I think he wanted to change, but his demons were entrenched, especially from that family line he comes from. Those two sides, woo, and his daddy's side, them ninjas were crazy as a box of rocks. And I see it permeating through all of us. I think the only thing that makes me different is that God has had his hand on my life. And it goes back to flesh and blood hasn't said, but my Father in heaven. There are certain people that are going to be receptive to God's spirit to where he can do stuff with them. And there's others who are going to stay in their self-centered foolishness and pride, and they're not going to change. They're going to put their feet in the stand, and they're going to stay exactly the same. A butthole. Questions, y'all? I know I done talked, but I had to tell the story. Talk to me before I end this, because I'm in this, and I hope it blessed you. And I'm just going to say this. Y'all need to pray. And I know I do this now, and I'm Christian. I'm in it now because God has really blessed me. And he's moved through people who aren't my blood relatives. I see how family is. Even new blood that I've met. And it's like, I'm tired. And there's a point when you get tired. And, I've turned this cheek, try to do the right thing. And every time somebody open up their butt cheeks and take a big fat dump on you, I'm done with it. So no, I'm not going into a house and sitting down with madness who refuses to admit their madness, and maybe because they're delusional and they're crazy and it's crazy. You're wrong. I'm not going to admit I'm wrong. I'm going to lie about it. Because if I don't admit I'm wrong, I don't have to change. I don't have to even think about changing. I can remain the same person, the same ignorant individual. Give freedom, y'all. Give freedom. Anyway, I might jump on here in a couple of weeks. I don't know if it'll be next week or a couple of weeks. I told y'all about the Matthew Bible study. I am doing it. I believe in the Easter video. Mandisa, I'm happy to bless you tonight. And I don't know what you're going through, but I hope you get freedom, whoever. I hope that this story blesses somebody, because I really see so many people that sit in the seat of abuse, and you do have to forgive. That is just biblical. If you are saying you're a follower of Jesus Christ, we are to forgive. But it does not mean that forgiveness means you sit yourself in a seat of abuse. Once I'm done with this video, I'm going to link into the community page, the video. This is a Facebook link that'll take you to, what is her name? BMAC Writes. Watch that video, because it's power when she talks about the people that owe you an apology, but they never will, and that you do need to forgive, because forgiveness is for us. He didn't go down and talk. He said, forgive them. He's talking to God the Father. Forgive them. Because you have to understand, if you God's child, so if you're a good parent, and so what I went through, child, bye. First of all, if I found out, my first issue is, I would not have married someone in which I'd have to sit down with my daughter or any of my children and say, if they do something to you. Because for me to even let that come out my lips tells me I already suspect something's not right about them. So I don't need around you around my kid. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to have you around my child. Zero. And then if I find out or suspect you doing something to my child and I found out it's real, I'm going to make arrangements for my children, but I'm then going to be in handcuffs. I'm going to be in handcuffs. I'm just I'm just going to let you know, because there's a level of a defense of a parent to defend you. So this is why we have to ask God, because if as an earthly parent I think like that, imagine what the God of heaven thinks when you messing with his children. Child, bye. That Egypt should tell you all you need to know. The Jews, aka Hebrews, were the chosen people. Pharaoh enslaving them. I done sent you a messenger through Moses to tell you, let my people go. Oh, my ninja, you still want to claim, you want to act up? And you still treat my kids wrong? And I'm telling you to let them go? Because I can show you better than I can tell you. And God cut up all the way to killing folk and water turning to blood and Loki. He wasn't playing. And you, so if that's the level of vengeance that you dealing with in God the Father, I think you have to ask, Lord, forgive them, because you are his child. You are his child. And if you his child, God ain't no joke. He will defend his children. You need to ask forgiveness, hopefully giving that person a chance to repent and get their life right. But if they choose to stay in their foolishness, that's going to be between them and God when they stand before him. You don't want to wish hell on nobody, because hell was not meant for mankind. But it's unfortunate a lot of mankind going to go to hell because mankind is caught up in their self-centered focus and ways. Do you, boo-boo? Do you? It's not, you have to forgive, and you just have to. And again, you don't have to sit in the seat of abuse. You forgive them. Lord, what I want you to think about, and when we deal with the word forgiveness, we weren't always correct, Mandisa, and we were products of the environment. I had some butthole tendencies. I probably still do. But we weren't where we're at in our walk and our day because of maybe things we inherited and things that were done to us. And we may have been that butthole. But somewhere along the journey, we woke up. God shook us, something about our spirit. He woke us up. And then we have to ask forgiveness of him of the things that we do, because we weren't maybe cognizant of them, or we were just walking in our own self-will and self-pride. Once we realize we have a way to ask for forgiveness and to change. What you don't want is, I don't want to go to hell. So therefore, if I don't want to go to hell, I don't want to see nobody else go to hell. So I pray you get it right. And it's hard because obviously sexual abuse, sexual rape, sexual traumas, even physical abuse, those are hard things to forgive. It's hard to forgive someone who was as abusive and nasty as my mother is and was. And so that's hard to forgive. But what I had to do was look back and say, wait a minute, what did she come from? Because we all come from something. What caused her to be this evil butthole that she is? What caused Monty to be who he was? Monty was an entitled, spoiled child. But early in Monty's life, my grandmother was not present. I asked him, I said, where was grandma? Because I didn't know he lived with his grandmother for a period of time. He was like a little boy. I'd never seen him before. He said, It was like all of a sudden you saw that part where his mama was not present. He also witnessed my grandmother, the one that's here, that was here, who's deceased, who later became Christian. He witnessed her stab his daddy in the leg. That is a massive child trauma. To see that level of violence where you see your parent stab another parent, that is trauma. That's massive. He tried to make a joke out of it, but I looked like, what the hell? And my grandmother cut a look, but I also, and I could be wrong, I believe my grandmother, his mother, was similar in a way to my mother. She sent him to his daddy, told him, I'm going to send you to your daddy and see how much trouble you can get to on a farm. In reality, she had remarried. And the man she married, I don't think he wanted to father Monty. So I think she got rid of Monty because she was trying to keep a piece of dick in the house. I could be wrong, but the guy was a jerk. And I didn't like my grandmother's husband. My tart cherry juice, good for inflammation, but it's what I got in the couch. I didn't like my grandmother's husband. He was an a-hole, an asinine to the whole. I mean, I'm just he was special, and he was one of those men that piece out money to her because she didn't make a lot of money. He was a dick, and when he died, he didn't leave her anything. He left all the property to his children. I could tell you like she was his dog. I hate to say that, and she loved his dirty draws. But like I said, you have to forgive. Every dog got their day, and sometimes God teaches lessons way better than we do. Way better. I don't hate her. I forgive her. I'm sorry for what she went through in her life. Sorry that all of them are jacked for all different reasons. But they all stem from the same jacked up family. There was a lot of things even in the household that I'm not talking about from their growing up in which all of them were impacted. And my aunt would probably think she's better off than everybody else because she's educated. Okay, I'm educated. She believes in everybody with a degree. That's the beautiful thing for her. And she thinks people without degrees are less than people with degrees. Hey, Chicago BBW, I'm almost going to end this, but it's good to see you. How you doing? So you've got that going on. And God bless her again. This was my favorite aunt. I'm going to say she's still my favorite aunt. She did bless me because I need a little help and I had to tell her. I don't want to tax all my friends. I haven't asked any family members because I don't deal with them. So for me to go and ask them, but all my friends had come in and helped with rent for, like I said, 3 months. From rent to the light bill to some other stuff. And they really blessed me. Watch it back if you want to. They really blessed me. But again, you got there's people who they want to stay in their foolishness. So if you want to stay there, it's just like my niece's her sister's mom. She a better girl than me. That woman brought you back into that madness of that household with this Chester the molester perv. Child, bye. Peace. Throw that ninja the peace sign and keep it pushing. Because he's crazy. She's crazy. So, but yeah, we got to forgive. It's a hard thing to do, but if we say we Christian, we got to. Because you don't want to not get into heaven for unforgiveness. Now, what happens to those people you forgive and they still stay in their butthole ways? That's between them and the Lord. It's between them and the Lord. Jesus' example, forgive them for they do not know what they do. But he used to roll out on their behind when he was dealing with them here on the planet. Because he was like, they're crazy. And kept it pushing. Anyway, y'all, I'm getting ready to get off of here. I hope you guys are blessed. I'm getting ready to try to make something called agua chili, which is a Mexican version of ceviche. So I'm getting here, roast the vegetables, blend those up, make the sauce, and see what's going on. Y'all, 2 and 2, be blessed.